I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order. The first order of business is roll call.
Cole? Here. Zach?
Here.
Long? Tubb? Here. Fleming?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Woodward? Quarles? Here.
We have a quorum. Next is pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting on July 12th, 2018. Fleming is moving it. Zach is supporting it. Any questions on the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next is the presentation of the agenda. I have no changes, so you have a change, or are you moving it? You're moving the agenda. Colwell is moving it. Tobb is supporting it. Any questions on the agenda? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Next is public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the Finance Committee this morning? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment. And we will move to the 2018-19-20 contingency report. Go ahead, Lynn. Oh, I need a motion to receive and file.
I'll do it.
Fleming and Zach. Go ahead.
Okay, so on page 1 or PDF page 13 of the contingency packet, there are a couple of items on today's agenda that impact the general contingency balance. Both of them are for the Sheriff's Office, one for a contract amendment for Lyon Township, which utilizes $92,138, and one for the Charter Township of Orion in the amount of $46,069. Now you will notice here that we did have to move some funding from the grant match line item to be able to accommodate these two requests because we've had a number of law enforcement contract amendments. We are able to do this, and so you'll see that also reflected on page 7, which is PDF page 19 of your PDF or your contingency packet. I'm sorry, that's not quite yet on page 8, which impacts the grant match. So there's nothing that's grant related. We're just moving favorability from the grant match line item to the general contingency.
Okay.
Then flipping back to page 7, there's one item on today's one memo that impacts the utilization of miscellaneous capital outlay. And this is for Corporation Council for a conference room update to update their outdated media equipment for $10,758.
Okay.
Moving on to the equity report, on page 13 or page 25 on your PDF electronic. There are several tri-party items on today's agenda that amount to $332,359. And one item on today's agenda for the sponsorship of the 2018 Arts, Beats, and Eats for $10,000. And last, you have an updated West Nile report that shows the utilization to date of funding and the remaining balances for the various municipalities.
For West Nile virus, they have to spend the money and then ask for reimbursement, correct? Who do they ask for that reimbursement?
Goes through the health department.
They go to the health department. And is there a special form they send in, or they just notify you that?
They provide a plan, they provide the resolution from their community that it's been approved. And
these communities, I have this village of Clarkston, and I see Addison Township out in Leonard, have put small amounts that it's hard to put a plan together. But at Independence Township, I see they have personal, and that's acceptable?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we recommend. Is that's probably the best thing they could do for their public is encourage them to use personal protection for.
Okay, good.
And so that's what those small plans generally do.
Okay, good. Any other questions on the contingency, on the report? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now I got to get back to the agenda. Okay, contingency reports done. Communications, I'll take communications A, B, C, D, E, and F. Commissioner Todd. Oh, I need a motion.
I'm moving it first.
Todd is moving it, Colwell is supporting it. Any questions on the on the communications? Go ahead.
Okay, on the one from John Cooper Ryder Circuit Court, I had some questions on the program. Is he here?
Yep.
Yeah, John, how old is this program that you're using? And are there better programs out there, or are we kind of stuck with this one? This is something that gets in my craw, that we have no other choices.
Well, there are some other choices, and we,
Do you want to, yeah, because you're on TV, I think. Thanks.
you're talking about our video system.
Yes, uh-huh.
Yeah, we have about 26, I think, video systems. About 22 of them are Jefferson audio video systems, and these 4 are BIS, Business Information Systems, that we're talking about today. We've gone out for bid actually for maintenance on these video systems before, and nobody wants to, other vendors don't want to bid on other vendors' products, their equipment, their software. They don't want to do work on them. So we didn't get any bids on it previously, so we just, went with exempting it this time. And,
Well, isn't it confusing to have 2 different systems?
we'd like to get them all to probably to Jefferson Audio. Yes, we would.
So what's the problem?
Cost.
If we switch, it'll cost a lot more to put the Jefferson Audio video systems in. So we're thinking about it. We have a project that's we're looking at down in our ground floor of the East Wing, where our 4 business BIS systems are.
Uh-huh.
And we're looking at, there's a kind of a security and safety thing. We're looking at constructing some larger referee courtrooms down there. But, so when we do that, if we do that, bring it to the commissioners and get approval first, of course.
Be all in the same system.
And then we could potentially move to those systems. The BIS systems were better for us at that time because they're in smaller courtrooms, and so they were better suited for that type of situation. So.
Okay, thank you
Sure.
very
Bill.
much.
Yeah, just real quick, this is very similar to many of the single source renewals that we do for software. There's no way that we would forklift out that technology without some sort of capital plan to do so. So it's like, in many of our different renewals, to get that maintenance done on that, that's why it's a very small amount that they have to pay
Yeah.
a year. But it's one of those things that it's hard to find other people to do it. So that's why we bring single sources.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
It's annoying to
One
me,
system.
only because we kind of get trapped there,
Yeah.
like only one part from Westinghouse fits a Westinghouse refrigerator, you can't, that type of thing. So, thanks, John, appreciate it.
Okay. You got
What?
another comment?
I have other things. but-
Okay, Eileen, and then go back to Shelley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine is on the sheriff's camera system upgrade replacement. It's a sizable chunk of change there, so I was just wondering, what is the expected lifespan of this new camera system? I understand that the current one had reached its operational life expectancy, but I was just wondering how long can we expect this investment to last?
Well, with technology the way it is today, probably about 90 days. It'll meet our needs for long term. Probably, this whole camera system is 18, 19 years old. So, I'm not saying that's going to last that long given technology, but this is state of the art, and it definitely needs replacing in order for us to complete our mission.
Okay, back
Yeah.
to Shelley.
So you have one camera for 2 helicopters?
No, 2 camera systems.
Two
One's
cam-
being replaced, the other one's just a repair on a piece on the other helicopter.
Okay, and these are the only folks that make this kind, I presume?
There's nobody but FLIR. They're the gold standard.
Okay. Okay, that's it. That's all
Okay. Any
you.
other questions on communications? If not, oh,
Tom, just,
Could I just point out, Linda
Okay.
just point out, you know, the chunk of money, we previously had a resolution on that, and we used grant money to pay for it.
Part of it.
Yeah, part of
okay.
it.
Wade?
yeah, just to support what the undersheriff is saying there, I had an opportunity to look at the camera system we currently have, go up in the helicopter and look and see what it do, and then talk to the pilots about what the new system was capable of doing. And I really don't want to share all of that because it's really going to help enforce some of the drug problems that we're having. But, I mean, I'm anxious to go back and see the new technology once it's installed, because it is going to be phenomenal. Not only for, you know, infrared detecting people that may be lost or whatever in the wintertime, or people that walked away from a nursing home or something, but other things that we won't go into detail on that will enable the sheriff's department to be much more diligent in tracking down certain types of criminals.
So
Thank
you're
you.
suggesting, Wade, that we get
We
a...
do it.
And you're also suggesting
Probably
we
get
get
another
a
one.
test run?
You
as
can,
commissioners?
anytime you want to go up, he's been up a couple of times, I know some other commissioners have too. It's on just routine patrol, we're not going to fly especially just
No.
for any one of you. But if they fly afternoon shift, they fly day shift, they fly different days, and anytime you want to go up, just let us know while they're
Yeah.
regularly scheduled.
Okay.
And it was phenomenal.
My daughter that is not following.
Correct.
Thank you,
We
Mr.
want
Chair.
this system.
Now, Google might be following you.
I mean, I could.
Okay, any other questions on communication? Dave?
So, on item D, and I guess I don't know how we want to do it, maybe we want to move all the other ones and pull D and do D separately?
You get, oh
How do you
boy,
want it?
okay.
We can. Yeah.
That'd be- okay. Can we pull
Okay,
from everything and
let's
start-
take communications A, B, C, E, and F, and we will then come back and take up D as an individual item. All those in favor of accepting communications A, B, C, E, and F, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Okay, now we're going to take communications D, Economic Development and Community Affairs, Department of Community and Homeland Improvement, 2018 Annual Action Plan, and a consolidated grant application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for community development block grants, a home improvement, home investment partnership grant, and emergency solution grant. That's quite a...
I would vote for that just because of
So, if I may, Mr. Chair. So, we talked at great length in economic development around this issue. And, I mean, I think everyone around the table knows, HUD raised some issues. I know the administration took a serious objection to some of those issues. I'm here to say that the broad issue of addressing affordable housing, particularly the lack of our direct investment in rental assistance, is a concern. And I actually think that there are things we should be doing more, and that's, I'm speaking for myself here. And this plan doesn't do enough to actually address that. And there's three things that I'm concerned about. One, as we all know, that HUD sends the letter in early August, April, when we're in the midst of the planning process. We don't become aware of it until a media news hit happens in, I believe, like late June. And then we're kind of closing in on finalizing this. I realize that we have a timeline and a deadline to be able to get this plan in. But frankly, had we been made aware, I think that there would have been more time to dig in and see, is there a way to possibly put some language into this plan to develop a strategy for improving, particularly support in rental assistance relative to the broader program. Full recognition, not enough money to solve all the housing needs and low-income needs in our community. That being said, we can do more than we are currently, and I think that there are best practices that we could be incorporating at minimum with modest investment right now, and then moving into looking into the next planning year to figure out how we can do more. We're in the midst of the the public comment phase to this plan, and we heard some conversations, the timeline to kind of meet what we want to, where we want to turn in the plan, that there isn't a lot of time to make adjustments to the plan, which I'll be honest, I downright disagree with. What is the point of a public comment phase if we can't incorporate some of that public comment into the plan? I mean, the whole point of public comment is to like, is this meeting the needs of the community so we can address it? I don't think radical shifts in the plan or anything like that, but I think that there are small things that we can do. And then lastly, if we don't do something and put some language in here to measurably increase support for addressing rental assistance, and there are lots of strategies to be able to do that, and I'm happy to throw one on the table. But if there's a way to identify some resources to look at this, and I realize that if once we get the grant monies in, we'd get some latitude to be able to shift these dollars around. I mean, I guess a 15% variance is allowed by our county policy to move things around at a later date. I don't want my name on this plan because I think it falls short of meeting that need. I would like us to see if there's a way to, at minimum, identify $100,000 in addition to where the dollars are. And I know that we there's some pass-through dollars to some other agencies that support rental assistance, but to put some money aside to allow for the development of a rental assistance program that can help improve the need and meet a need that, to be honest, has raised my consciousness of it. And I didn't like the story that came out. I mean, I think it did give us something on black eye. But kind of like the silver lining that came out of it is that I've been approached by a number of people who are directly impacted by these issues and shared with me their stories and challenges of meeting their housing needs in my own community that I wasn't even aware of. And so I think that there is definitely an opportunity here, and I think we should seize on the opportunity and not be reactive if HUD comes down and says you must do this and you must do that. Like, be proactive and start embarking on a way like, how can we meet this need, which is a legitimate need for a large segment of the people that live in our county. And we're not talking huge amounts of money over, granted, not enough money to meet all the needs. We're talking about a small bit of money there. So that's what I'm looking for. I don't know if it's in order to even make a motion in general in the kind of the action items to request that to be incorporated into the plan. I mean, I know this is communications, and it's raising a flaw in my opinion that if we don't put it in the plan now, yes, we can address it later. I guess when the money's coming back, but we're basically submitting a plan for something that I think that there's a gap in addressing, and I would rather do it right in the front end than try to submit something and then with the intention of later changing it to be something different than what we're submitting in the first place. That just doesn't seem appropriate. If we can't do that, and if there's no interest of this committee or this county to want to embark on any of that, then I don't want my name on it. And I will issue a very public objection to this plan for these reasons. And again, the department that does this work every single day, I have tremendous respect for, and I would argue a very public defender of. But this is, we're missing the mark on this. And I think that, a modest tweak of this plan, that I can be proud to be submitting and asking HUD to continue to invest dollars here. Otherwise, I guess I will fall in line with any average citizen out there. I will, submit by the deadline tomorrow a very strongly worded letter to follow this plan, and then be looking for fundamental policy change and resolutions be introduced at the next board meeting. It seems heavy-handed to address. Something that I think could be very small and addressed, but it is a policy question that I think this committee and Economic Development Committee and everybody else involved in the process has a responsibility to fully vet and hope people can accept. So that's a lot, but
okay, Shelley, you
I'm trying
have
to be
some.
succinct because I could.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate what I said in the previous meeting and stress that there are 4 commissioners who sit on this board. 2 of them are sitting here, and 3 of them are sitting here.
3.
Okay,
Nancy's.
all but Commissioner Bowman. And we addressed this in our advisory committee meeting, and as I understand it, there's going to be some type of a study about rental assistance in the county that we're going to be having, because there are other organizations besides our county that do have rental assistance. And the definition of rental assistance is something we have to go into. So I'm just going to say that this is going to be taken care of this year by doing this study, and so I will be happy to have my name on this. We did address it. It will be addressed. It will be hopefully part of next year's plan, and we can go from there. But to go ahead and devote funding to it now, before we look at what other organizations are giving funding for rental assistance, and what we're talking about in dollars, I think is kind of foolish. To set aside funding, we don't know what it is. We have no clue. So I think we need to look at every organization in this county and the need before we jump ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, I got some people on the list. Fleming, did you need? Okay. When you talk to residents, there's other rental assistance programs. Helene, you got an answer to that?
I want to listen to you. I want to be on the list.
Okay. Did they mention that the other programs were hard to use, or why don't they use the other rental assistance that we have?
I think that with a lot of these, I mean, specifically, I'm going to talk about the South Oakland Shelter that looks at kind of emergency homelessness and trying to replace, and not looking at trying to bridge that. Usually someone's in a more dire situation and trying to find immediate place in housing. Individuals that I talk to weren't, I wouldn't say in that extreme point of view. I mean, they having challenges being able to use some housing vouchers, places that will accept them, where they're making a list of where they can actually do it. Surprisingly, the one particular, and staff was great to actually work with one that, like in areas where there is a bus system, they really couldn't find a place that they could use it. Places further out, like in Commissioner Tull's district and others, where there isn't a very good, reliable transit system that this particular individual I'm thinking of would take the voucher for the housing issue, but there isn't a way to get to public transit to be able to get to the dock. And so, it was, I wouldn't say crisis mode, but it was very hard. It was hard to navigate, and in all fairness, I don't think that she particularly had a full understanding of like all the individual programmings and like the criteria to take advantage of the program. I know it can be kind of a navigating challenge at times. Broad brush that, I think putting up some additional dollars, and I realize that we prioritize home ownership and helping keep people in their homes and investing in infrastructure that helps improve housing for low-income individuals, and it's important, and there's not enough money to be able to meet all that need, right? And I fully understand that. But to not appropriately invest on the other end of the spectrum, on the rental need, and I think all the work to do an assessment on that, again, it's raised my consciousness that there is a large segment of our population that's in that space, and housing, and down at the area that I represent, is of an increasing concern for people like me to have been able to be raised in my community under the same economic conditions as the family that brought me to my community is really hard, and some would argue almost impossible. And so it's a broad brush, things that we need to do for this purpose. The lack of a dedicated commitment of some amount, and then again, I'm not saying I don't know how much we need, but asking that $100,000 be dedicated for the development of some additional rental assistance program as part of this overall comprehensive multi-million-dollar grant, I don't think is an unrealistic, unreasonable request. And I'm asking of that. Or at minimum, I want my name taken off of this, and I will try to achieve that through other means.
Yeah, Commissioner Zach next.
So, I'm glad to hear that we're gonna embark on this rental assistance study. At the same time, we still could set aside money to determine that, for future in 6 months assistance, because I do know that there's a problem. I am on now on a subsidiary board of South Oakland Shelter called Sparrow Housing Development, and they spun that off to develop affordable housing. So, and I've been working on this issue since I studied it at 2015 at Harvard. And we don't, part of the rental assistance, we don't have enough affordable housing, and I hope to address that systematically in the next course of a year or two. But a drop in the bucket, something that we could do is to set aside more rental housing assistance. What we are doing in the community and the agencies that are out there, South Oakland Shelter being one of the wonderful agencies that helps people, it does not address anywhere the need of what's there. When I have police chief from Ferndale calling me about a homeless family that's in the school system that they can't afford or find housing, we've got problems throughout our county. So I support Commissioner Woodward in saying, let's set aside some money. And I've been a big champion of our department. They've done some wonderful things. Helped them get more housing counseling years ago when we were doing all the foreclosure. They've done a great job, but I also understand that we have a tremendous gap in affordable housing rental assistance throughout our county, and it's growing. So, I support him.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I think this is a very important conversation.
Move up to the...
Oh.
And I can't think of it.
Mr. Chair, I'm Tim Meyer. I'm the Deputy
Yeah.
County Executive for Economic Development and Community Affairs. And I think this is a very important conversation, and I think it's very timely that we have this evaluation of the distribution of especially HUD monies, but also county monies that go into the different forms of housing and housing assistance. And I think it's important to get a sense of the scope of really, and take a couple minutes with your permission to really get into the scope of this conversation as to really what kind of monies that we're talking about that are being already dedicated to rental assistance and home improvement. And to that effect, if I may, I would like to call on Carrie Reith, who's the manager, and some of her staff, just to give you maybe a 3-minute scoping of really what is being dedicated as far as financial resources into the whole conversation around housing.
Okay, go ahead, Terry.
Good morning. When we submit the application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development,
And that's what we're voting on today,
that's
right?
what we're talking about today.
And it's due tomorrow?
It is due on August 14th. The
Okay.
public comment period ends at 5 o'clock on the 3rd.
Okay.
So what I would like to express is that this is not just one grant that that has the same eligibility criteria associated with it, the same strings attached to the spending of it, the same scope and approach.
Yeah.
So we're talking about community development block grant funding. We're talking about home investment partnerships programs, and we're talking about emergency solutions grant. So when you talk about wanting to modify or change the plan, you have to modify or change one grant. And it may or may not have the eligibility contained within it that you're hoping to accomplish, which I know affordable housing is the issue at hand and rental assistance is the issue at hand. But there are several approaches to accomplish those needs, and we need to be very specific in that application about the type of program we're talking about, the people we're trying to assist. There are environmental assessments that have to go with any change in a program and development of a new idea. So we would have to do the environmental assessment. We'd have to identify which grant we're talking about. And we're capping off, if you take $100,000 and you want to create a new initiative for that, there is a domino effect associated within that particular grant, because right now every dollar has been dedicated and appropriated to a given activity already. So we would have to identify, where are you taking the dollars from? Are you taking them away from a home investment partnership, home improvement fund? Are you taking them away from a formula allocation to a community under CDBG? Are you taking it away from a shelter operation under Emergency Solutions Grant? So there's not enough information tied with a simple request to appropriate $100,000 for rental assistance and affordable housing to incorporate into the annual action plan at this point in time. That's my first comment. Secondly, the application is due to HUD in a short period of time, which Carl has talked about. The application has gone through public hearing processes at the local levels, and it has gone through the public hearing process here at the county level. So we are also publishing in a newspaper our scope and approach for the use of all of these funds. And tied to that, there's a formal request for release of funds that has to go to HUD, identifying every dollar that we've identified for projects. So that has been publicized, or will be publicized on the 16th, by the 16th as well, and those have been printed. And those are in the hands of the Oakland Press, ready for distribution. So it's very difficult for me to guide you with the complexities associated with all these programs and who's going to be the winner and the loser for the $100,000 point in time, and how we can appropriately add that to the existing plan and remove something else at this late time. I would suggest that after the application goes to HUD, there is capacity within the application structure to reprogram up to 15% of the funding, even prior to the acceptance period of the grant, which we come back and we go through committee structures for. There is a discussion, a couple of words in the application that says we can do rental, so we wouldn't have to, at acceptance time, have a substantial amendment to the application of acceptance, but we certainly have to identify which grant, which program, how we're going to do it, and what our thoughts are specifically.
Carrie, could you also share with them the rental assistance dollars that are available, that
Yes.
are being made available right now?
Yes, we do know that there are over $70 million coming into Oakland County in various forms of rental assistance. And I have to say, compared to the home improvement program, our program is one of the few dollar amounts coming into us to assist owner occupants with repairing their homes and keeping the neighborhoods up. That being said, there are initiatives already built into the plan by some communities who, under their formula allocations, are appropriating money for emergency services, which are utility arrearages, mortgage payments if they're behind. So it's really a prevention for renters and owners. So that emergency service is available, and that is a rental dollar being spent. There are also other opportunities in the Emergency Solutions Grant where we're providing short-term rental assistance already, and Kathy can answer questions about that. But that is really providing short-term rental assistance to people who are either going to experience homelessness and try to prevent them from becoming homeless to pay their rents in a short-term capacity of up to 6 months. So there are rental assistance dollars built into the plan, but that's under the Emergency Solutions Grant. The public services I was talking about, that's under the Community Development Block Grant Program. So it has to be tied to a specific grant.
Couple of questions.
Yeah.
Would HUD accept a proposal with $100,000 to say to be announced later, basically?
No, because we have to environmentally assess,
Yeah.
you know, the activity before the application goes to HUD, and then we have to request release of funds on a specific activity.
Okay. The other thing is the rental assistance, the different ones that are available, and Commissioner Woodward mentioned that maybe they didn't know about those. How do you reach the people that need that rental assistance to let them know that these are the different programs available?
Well, we talked about our analysis of impediments to fair housing choice.
Okay.
That plan is really an opportunity for us to look at all of the resources coming into Oakland County to assist low-income housing consumers at all different levels. Home buyer, home ownership, rental.
Okay.
And that plan would identify where the gaps in services are
Okay.
and what are the impediments for people to attain housing of their choice, whether it be home ownership, rental, whatever. And we would identify what the needs are at that time and make some recommendations on how we feel we could best use these dollars to assist the gaps in the housing delivery system in Oakland County.
Okay.
I just want to add, there's also currently ways that we work with partners, whether it be the Alliance for Housing and the Continuum of Care, or whether through housing counseling, where we do a tremendous amount of referrals to services, and also documents or reports or plans or outreach or even programs out in the community that the Alliance, in partnership with us here in Oakland County and the other nonprofits that provide homeless services, are actively working all of the time to work together to make sure that the word is getting out there.
Okay. And before that, Chris, you want to add some stuff, because before we do action on this, we need to know what our criteria is that we need.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there's a question of policy, and then there's sort of just a procedural issue here as well. And Commissioner Woodward and I have discussed this. We had some significant discussion about this at the Economic Development Committee the other day. And I know there's some frustration level here because of the role of the Board of Commissioners basically have carved out for themselves at this process. You know, you've created your own procedures and policies as it relates to grants, and essentially as it relates to this grant and where we're at right now, you're really narrowed yourself down to essentially receiving and filing this grant. There's really no role here for the Board of Commissioners to reject or amend this grant in accordance with the grant review procedures. So
that's what we have done, not that HUD is saying.
No,
That's
exactly
just
right.
that-
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On this item D that's before us, all we can do is receive and file it.
I don't know that there's anything prohibiting within Robert's rules if you'd like to make a motion to put something in the minutes, but you know, I just wanted to clarify that. But that's the grant review process procedures as approved by the Board of Commissioners.
So a motion to amend this is out of order then?
Out of order within your own
Yeah.
processes and procedures.
Okay. Okay, now Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. And that is all true. That being said, that this meeting particularly has been outlined as one of the public comment phases for this overall plan. And what I've been trying to ask, and I mean, to carry Amy's point of view, is that my perfect solution is that staff gets creative to figure out how we can do this and have a can-do approach to this. Where to take it from? Take it from home. Asking for $100,000 is less than 10% of the home allocation. It is out of a nearly 1.4 million total allocation, moving it around. something that would be satisfactory to HUD. A, it demonstrates that we're serious about doing this and doing more. And I mean, and really lean on the staff to figure out, all right, if this is important enough, this is a way we can do it. Like, I'm trying to stay in my lane as I guess, a legislator, a policy maker, and saying, turn to the experts to help do this. And I want to recognize that this is important. We heard the mention of nearly $70 million of assistance coming to the counties for rental assistance. That number itself sounds very big. But let me be very clear, that is nowhere near enough to be able to fix this problem. All of the affordable housing dollars coming into Oakland County is not enough money to meet the affordable housing need in Oakland County. And so, to the extent that, I mean, I don't have a lot of control over those monies. I guess I have some control on when we receive the grant. We have talked about, we can repurpose up to 15, reprogram up to 15% of that. If I heard a commitment to look at repurposing 10% to look at rental assistance once we get the grant, some of this gets satisfied. I mean, some of my concerns get satisfied. But I haven't heard that. And in fact, I've heard a lot of roadblocks of why we can't. And I refuse to accept it. I mean, I've seen this county do incredible things, amazing things in very short order. And we have time still. We have 12 days. Like, we're not talking about reinventing the wheel. But I guess what I am trying to do is be very deliberate, be very public, that this is a problem that needs to be addressed, and this is how we're going to do it. And give us flexibility to figure out the best way to do it. I mean, which is why I haven't come in to say, do this program. If that's what we need to do, and if I don't hear like something of that level, that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start proposing programs, and then, which is like I don't want to do. I mean, because I don't want to suggest in any way that I don't have confidence in staff. I do. If this was something that the administration can embrace, and even just like the commitment, like yes, we will. Give it, let us figure out what we're going to do and at least verbally demonstrate it. I don't need to go through and write my public letter that will attach and follow this to HUD. And my frustration is building. Yeah. And like, if I write it right now, it's going to be a very strongly worded letter. Okay. I don't want to do that. I want us to be able to say, like, listen, this is a problem. We acknowledge it's a problem. I mean, I guess I've heard enough that we've acknowledged the problem. What I have seen that our policy has just been like, you know what, we're going to let others deal with that. We're going to focus on this other thing. And what I really need what I need to hear from our county, that we're going to embark on this, and we are going to make a measured commitment to this. And we need time to figure out the big plan, but in the short order, we can do this. That is not an unrealistic request out of a total $8.8 million grant request that's going to come through. And the fact that we can do some repurposing, like, I need to hear that, yes, we commitment, repurpose 7, 10%, and that's $100,000 to do more from what we can control, from Oakland County's perspective, to improve rent assistance in Oakland County.
Okay. Shelley's got a comment, and remember, our vote is to receive and file this.
I understand.
We really ventured way off of that, but go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah, well,
all right.
Okay. All due respect to that, we are receiving and filing, and we're having something sent out. And what I refuse to accept is that basically our role in all of this is either accept the money as it's been presented or don't take the money at all. No. I mean, that is a ridiculous position. No. And that is, I mean, and our statutory responsibility reaches beyond that, even though we've created policy that basically has taken us out of this process. That policy is stupid. Okay. But it is what it is.
Okay, but that's not the vote, the policy. Okay.
Okay, so I just need to understand something, because I unfortunately had to step out for a moment. Did you say, Carrie, that annually 70 million in rental assistance comes into this county annually? Am I correct in that? Okay, so before I know where this money is going and why some people are unable to access it, that's where I think the problem is. Some people just don't know where to go or how to access rental assistance, because we have 1.2 million in this county. That's a lot of rental assistance for 1.2 million, 2.5 or whatever the number is, I don't know, it doesn't matter, people. And so I think it behooves us, as you said, Carrie, to look at things, to study them, and see why people, and let's get some names. I want to know who the people, or I don't want to know who they are, but people who need rental assistance, they need to know where to go for it, because $70 million is a lot of money for rental assistance, in my personal opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and if we apply for this grant, there's no guarantee that we're going to get the money.
It's an entitlement grant, so if we're talking about CDBG Home and ESG, those funds have been appropriated by Congress, by committee structure for Oakland County.
Okay, so you have a total number for Oakland County, and then you divide it up this way.
No, they give us an appropriation amount for each of the grants for CDBG, Home, and ESG, each ruled by their own piece of legislation. But they consolidate those grants into one application because it's a housing and community development grant.
Okay. Okay, one more comment.
One more point, and then I will wrap up. Okay, so, I guess, three things I said, that if I can hear a commitment to repurpose and reprogram, and I'll throw a number out there, upwards of between 7 and 10% of the home grant. I mean, if we need specific, but I would like to give as much flexibility. Then my concerns to be able to support rent assistance, then my concerns at this juncture are eliminated, are addressed. 2, to suggest that there's $70 million of money just sitting on the table that people in need of rental assistance can get it is false. I mean, yes, there's money coming in doing a whole bunch of things. It's not enough. It is not enough. So to suggest that there are people like, oh, if you only knew that there was more help for you, that you could go get help. Do not believe that. It is not true. It is not enough, and it's a whole. And it's complex, and it's about how rental assistance dollars is something, whether it's rehabilitating a building and other housing needs to the actual subsidy of rent type of issues.
Run for Congress and fix it.
Shelley.
Sorry.
Oh, I know. You miss me.
Okay.
Anyway, so, and I guess I'm not hearing that can happen.
Okay.
So.
Public comment is for 14 days yet.
Well, no, but public comment ends tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
It ends tomorrow. And I guess I'm hoping before I leave today that maybe I can hear something to that, that effect. And if not, at minimum, I want my name pulled off of this. And I encourage people who feel that we need to be doing more rental assistance that's not captured in this proposal to do the same.
Okay, Jerry, you got a comment?
Just very briefly.
Sure, yes.
Last week, when Congressman Trott on our behalf met with the Assistant Secretary for HUD that's responsible for this program, the advice from HUD was that we should submit what we've been submitting, aggressively engage with HUD on the issues that they think that they have raised. You need to understand that there's two sides to HUD. There's the side that's for 45 years and telling us everything's wonderful and congratulations on the job you do. And now there's the fair housing side of HUD that's decided that because there's a class difference, if you will, in terms of economics in every community, that we have to identify the impediments to segregation and desegregation in every community and step forward with a way to address zoning, permitting, land use, the building of low-income houses, and etc. So when we respond to them, two ways. One, remember in Michigan, counties don't have the authority over any of that. And so the people you need to talk to about zoning, land use, permitting, and everything are the CVTs. And they're not going to surrender to us the right to determine that for their local communities. Number two, try this. Tell us what you want. Tell us it's your money. What's the percentage you think should go into each of these things? It's your money. We'll do whatever the heck you want. But we won't agree to two things. We won't agree to become policemen at the CVT level on zoning, planning, land use, and permitting, because we don't have the authority to do that. Number two, we're not going to admit to doing something wrong when we haven't been. When everything we've done has been reviewed, approved, audited, approved a second time. So we're sitting back here, our request into HUD is tell us what the target is. They don't have rules on this. This is like the old cases on obscenity. They don't know what they want, but they'll tell us when they see it, so we'll start negotiating stuff. Every dollar we take away from our current thing means somebody who's trying to save their home is not going to do it. They're going to become part of these rental people who need rent subsidies because they're losing their home. Because remember what we do with it. It's basically furnaces, wells, septics, and roofs, all right? We got a file for every human being that got the money. We can trace every dollar we ever spent. So this is, if it's a philosophy thing, actually, that's great. Tell us the rules. And they won't tell you the rules because they don't agree among themselves what the rules are. And plus, this is part of, as you may know, a vast national movement on rental housing. And I just got to finally say this. Read a report yesterday about affordability of rents in the United States. And needless to say, at a minimum wage level, nobody can afford rent anywhere in any state. All right? And then by locale, it's different. You're a low-income person in San Francisco if you make under $108,000. So these things, they're trying to do this one-size-fits-all when there's the mosaic. The mosaic here, very openly, with your approval, our support has been, here's the universe of monies available for home issues. There's 70 million out there in these other programs, not enough. You could put it 170, you could put it 500 million, it wouldn't be enough. Here's this little slice over here, and I mean, comparatively speaking, it's little. We're gonna try and help people who are in their homes stay in their homes. That's all we've been doing. If they don't want us to do it, great, tell us what you want. But so far, they haven't told us what they want.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote. We have enough information to make a decision to receive and file item number D. All those in favor of receive and file signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same?
No.
Okay. Oh, the same, but no was what. Okay. We'll take those 2 or 3 as no's. Now we'll move on to the next is consent agenda. And we have, I have 3 on that page. And C, D, and E on the second page. All of them are tri-party funds.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported, Long supported it. Colwell, or Top made the motion. All those in favor of receive and file a roll call on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Cole?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Tubb?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes. Okay, next is that we're to the regular agenda. Item number 2 is we have a report to amend the resolution. Both of these are asking for money out of next year's grant. And so they have a special amendment to it. Okay. First, we need a motion on the resolution. Okay. Fleming and Top. Okay, now we have a report that amends it, and I'm looking for the wording. Okay, what they're doing is, the amendment to these
This is strange.
tri-party grants is, whereas in the event of the 2019 tri-party program funds are not available, the community shall be responsible for their 1/3 share as well as the county's 1/3 share. It just puts a stipulation. I got a call. Oh,
Yeah, I'll move that.
okay. We're
Oh, we already
moving the
moved it?
amendment.
We already moved it, okay. And then I have questions. Me too.
Okay. It's been moved in,
I don't want to support it.
Okay.
I have a question.
okay, it's been moved and supported. Do you have a question, or you want the presenter first to announce? Okay,
she
go
can.
ahead.
Yeah, then I have a question.
We've actually gotten, these are the first 2 that we received from the Road Commission, and Tom Nochel from the Road Commission
I don't like
indicated
that.
they're seeing a lot more communities submit projects where they're doing, including the next allocation of the tri-party funding. We have done this once before with Independence with the Sashabaw I-75 project, where they actually did 3 years out. We appropriated it with the agreement, noting that they cannot invoice us until that allocation is made available. We will not be paying any invoices until
that's okay
that
then,
is
I
met
guess.
per the agreement.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing here. The other choice was to only appropriate the 2018, up to the 2018 dollar amount, and then come back with a separate resolution at a later date on our own, because the road commission will not be presenting another agreement to us. This is the agreement that they already approved, at a later date. And it was, since we're so close to 2019, in the order of efficiency, we decided to amend these two
All right.
resolutions.
I guess, okay,
for
as long as they know.
Groveland and for Orion.
Okay.
To keep the process moving. Again, we will not be paying the invoices until those allocations are made available. And it will be after January 1st, 2019.
So, okay.
That answers my
Yeah.
question. I just, and they know that if the part or the program goes away, they're,
That's correct.
okay, that's good.
So, yeah. Okay. Any questions? If not, on the report, a roll call.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is on the fiscal note, right? Now on the fiscal note as amended, with the resolution amended. Call the roll.
Long?
Yes.
Todd? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next, we're going to do item number 3, the same process for Orion Township. First, I need a motion to accept item 3, Cowell and Fleming. Now I need a motion for the report, to accept the report, the amendment, Cowell and Fleming. Any discussion? If not, call the roll. On the report.
Yep.
Todd? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Now I have to vote on the fiscal note. So, call the
Crawford?
roll.
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next, we're on item number 4, the circuit court or facilities management. No, that's item
No.
number 8. Okay.
Circuit court.
Circuit Court Family Division, Oakland County Child Care Fund budget for 2018-19. Need a motion. Zach and Tom. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is David Bilson. I'm the Deputy Court Administrator for the courthouse. Sitting to my left is John Cooperator. And
Good
morning. My name is Tom Shire. I'm the Oakland
trust
County Department of Health and Human Services Child Welfare Director.
Okay.
And Jody Overall is here also from Shoners Village to answer any of your questions. Under statute, the court must submit to this board and develop a plan for the Oakland County Child Care Fund. And we're doing that here today. The Child Care Fund helps fund delinquency and neglect programs, cases that come into our court. The plan is an estimate, and we estimate about expenditures about $34 million. And here to answer any questions we have.
Okay. Commissioner Todd.
I just want to comment, I think it's wonderful that you're getting more money.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are. So it's very-
I don't know what you did and whose arms you twisted, but good job.
Well, a little bit of the state, but
Okay. Any other comments? If not, call the roll on item number 4.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next is item number 5, Friend of the Court, 2018 Access and Visitation Grant Amendment. Need a motion. Zach is moving it. Fleming is supporting it. Go ahead, Suzanne.
Thank you. I'm Suzanne Hollier, the Director of the Friend of the Court. This is an amendment to our access and visitation contract with the state. It's federal money that provides in Oakland County supervised parenting time services to very poor people. Almost everyone served under this grant has an annual income of under $10,000 a year. And they're able to see their children safely through a supervisor at Impact Consulting. And we, some of the counties don't use all their money, so they ask us late in the fiscal year if we can use it. Our demand always far exceeds the funding we have available, so we always say, yes, we'll take whatever you can give, and this year it's $5,000 more, raising our grant amount from $17,500 to $22,500.
Okay. Top.
Yes, I will be supporting this, but I want to disclose that I do know some people who've received counseling here in the past. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comment? If not, call the roll.
Quarles? Yes. Cowell?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Next is item 6, the Sheriff's Office contract amendment for law enforcement services for the Charter Township of Orion. Need a motion. Taub and Fleming.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
It's been through the other committees. This will add a deputy to the Orion Township contingent. The deputy will be assigned to the middle school in Lake Orion School Districts. The township and the school district approached us, so this there's currently a deputy assigned at the high school. This will add another deputy to that contingent to work in the schools.
Okay. And they go through the Orion Township contract, doesn't it?
That's correct.
So,
Right. Orion Township will be paying us its full cost recovery.
And then the school will pay this.
I'm not sure the
however they
arrangement.
work that
Yes,
out.
they all vary by community. Some pay a little, some pay more. It's between each school district and the contracting, or the township, city, or village.
Okay. Top?
Yeah, there may be a typo here. Is it for Orion 17 and 18 or 18 and 19? Is that a typo?
The contracts actually go through the end of 2018, and then we'll have new contracts beginning in the calendar year of 19. So yeah, this is.
We'll be coming back to you at the end of the year for new contract rates.
All the law enforcement contracts expire at the end of December 2018.
Okay, but
So
2007.
only contract rates through December 2018. So we have to bring new contract rates before you.
But 17 is already passed.
It was a 2-year contract.
Oh, okay, got it, okay.
Just amending that original
All right,
contract.
okay, I got it.
Okay.
And I have one quick thing,
Yep.
a thing to say. I just have a quick announcement. The DNA lab is open, correct?
That's correct. I announced that previously and gave you credit. If you
Yeah.
remember, we solved the homicide for Oak Park quite some time ago. It was one of our first big cases.
Good.
We did that until Cunningham left. After Cunningham left, now we don't have to talk about the DNA lab anymore. Okay, any questions on item number 6? If not, call the roll.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Next is item number 7, Sheriff's Office Amendment Contract to Law Enforcement for Lyons Township. Need a motion, Fleming and Top.
Same situation as with Orion.
Okay.
South Lyon Community Schools and Lyon Township have gotten together. We'll be adding a deputy at the second high school and a deputy at the middle school.
Okay.
And part of the Lyon Township substation contingent.
Okay. Question, Top.
Yeah, I think this is wonderful, but are we able to fill these? I mean, we had some problems in the past hiring deputies.
We fill them as fast as we can. We struggle like everybody else. We'll supply the deputy, but we're in the process of hiring right now. It's got probably about 10 or 11 vacancies on the road. We've approved several new outside hiring and then promotions from within. So we'll be able to fill it, but we will spend overtime to backfill it.
Okay, any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 7.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 8, Facilities Management, Facilities Maintenance and Operation, Medical Examiner's Chiller Replacement Project. Need a motion. Todd is moving it, Fleming is supporting it. Go ahead.
Good morning, Joe Murphy, Manager of Facilities Maintenance and Operations.
Good morning, Steve Foster, Project Manager.
Mike Chason, Chief of Facilities.
So today we're seeking part of our approved capital plan to replace the 19-year-old chiller over at the Medical Examiner's building. The plan was The project was competitively bid. Bids came in at $546,576. The only hiccup that we did have in this was that during the hot weather that we did have, we had some failures to the existing equipment where we had to bring a temporary chiller in. So that cost is rolled into this project.
So this needs done fast.
Any questions? Yeah.
Just how old is the building?
19 years old, I believe, right?
So this was the original.
The chiller went in with the building.
Okay.
When it went in when the building was constructed, so.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
That's long for that
Okay.
refrigeration.
In this passed, building and planning unanimous, so
Correct.
it started there.
They have to have
So, any questions on 8? If not, call the roll.
Long,
Yes.
Cobb,
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell. Yes. Zach,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is item number 9, facilities management, facilities maintenance and operation, building management systems replacement project, second phase. Need a motion for item number 9. Eileen, I mean. Cowell, and Todd is supporting it.
This is a project that we brought before the board as a pilot, and then phase 1, it's to replace the 30-year-old energy management, BMS, building management system here at the county. We're seeking $499,938 out of our planned capital projects to move forward with phase 2.
Okay. Any questions? If not, call the roll on item number 9.
Cobb. Yes. Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell. Yes. Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 10, Public Service Department, MSU Extension Modification of Professional and Education Service Contract. Need a motion. Fleming and Long.
Kind of mad at Michigan State.
Go ahead.
Good morning. I've got Sheila Letty, our administrator for MSU Extension, and we're here to present, ask for your approval. For several years now, we've been contracting with Michigan State Extension to provide services that once were provided by county employees. We had 2 originally. Last year, we had another county employee retire, a natural sciences coordinator, and we are contracting with Michigan State Extension to provide that service also. This resolution asks that you to hold those positions vacant so that we can use those funds to pay for these positions.
Okay. Okay.
And it is cost neutral. Well, that question came up yesterday.
4-H.
A few years ago, Michigan State reorganized, MSU Extension reorganized, and they wanted to do this at that time. Our county employees that were working for 4-H had taken a 2% and a 1% reduction in pay. And as we were coming out of that, if they would have went to MSU, just changed employment to MSU, MSU was behind the times and doing those needed reductions, and our MSU, our employees working for Extension would have gotten hit double with the correction for the recession. So that's why we didn't do it back then. As we have retirements, then it's fair and equitable to make this change. But that's the reason.
Thank you.
Is there any other explanation or any discussion? If not, call the roll on item number 10.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell. Yes. Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cobb,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried. Next is item number 11, Department of Public Services, Medical Examiner's Office, agreement with Jackson County. I need a motion, Long and Top. So, go ahead.
We were contacted by Jackson County because they were going to be losing their morgue. It was unexpected. The hospital came to them, said they were going to close down their morgue. They thought they had a temporary solution in place where they would not need our assistance, and that fell through. So they contacted our office and requested the assistance of the medical examiner to do the autopsies that are required by state law. We sat down and calculated a price at $16.50 per autopsy, Jackson County is assuming a lot of the work still. They're doing their own investigation, handling their own death certificates. They're handling all the transportation costs, and that's how we were able to come up with that $1,650.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Tom?
So they bring bodies here, is that it?
That's correct.
And then they return them to Jackson?
Yes, but actually, we worked it out where they stay and wait for us to complete the autopsy and take them back, so we're not actually storing any of the bodies, so it's really
that's
beneficial to
good.
us that they're taking those
Better
extra
for
steps
them.
for us.
Hmm.
Wow, okay,
Okay.
thanks.
That's a little different than when we first not when we first opened, but we had a contract with Genesee County at one time. But I think we received those bodies and they stayed here until, this one, they take the bodies back.
That's correct, they're bringing them in that morning, waiting, and taking them back, so we're not having to store the bodies now.
Yeah, so, okay, any other, yes, Commissioner Woodward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How many communities do we have a similar arrangement with? Just Genesee and?
We don't have a arrangement with anybody else at this time, it would just be Jackson County.
And then from a capacity point of view, it's not gonna impair our
No.
ability to get full autopsies done?
No, we don't anticipate needing to hire anybody, we're not gonna be stressed out where we can't complete our own autopsies for Oakland County, so we.
About 100
Yeah, we anticipate about 100 over the course of 5 to 7 months.
from Jackson County.
Oh, okay. And you think it,
5 to 7 months.
Over a period of 5 to 7 months, about 100. They average about 200 autopsies a year for their count.
and you feel that after that time, they will have secured a autopsy room?
They are currently remodeling a facility now to have their own work.
Sure. Okay, any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 11.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes,
Fleming?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes. Motion carried. Next is item number 12, Department of Economic Development and Community Affairs, Community and Home Improvement Division, fiscal year 2018-2019, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, Housing Education Program Contract for Housing Counseling Service, and that's the motion. Zach is moving it, and Fleming is supporting it. So, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. We're here to accept the contract for the MISHDA Housing Education Program contract. The money is $25,000 to be used toward counselor salaries and fringes for services provided for those in foreclosure, both property tax and mortgage, as well as pre-purchase counseling.
So, any questions? If not, call the roll on item number 12.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is item number 13, Department of Information Technology, third quarter 2018 Development Appropriations Transfer. Need a motion. Crawford and Fleming. Go ahead.
Commissioners, good morning. Before you have the third quarter transfer for all the work that IT has done for all of the different departments and divisions of county government. If anyone has any questions at this time, we'd be happy to answer them.
Got it. Thank you. If there's no other questions, call the roll on item number 13.
Thank you, Bill.
Quarles? Yes. Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next is Board of Commissioners sponsorship of the 2018 Arts Beats and Eats Festival. Need a motion. Woodward is moving it, and Zach is supporting it. So, any questions? If not, call the roll.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles? Yes. Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is item number 15, Department of Management Budget County Executive Recommendation 2019-2021 Budget and Overview of Revenue and Non-Departmental Budget and Salary Recommendations. Need a motion. Motion to receive and file. Fleming, and Top. Go ahead, Lynn.
Okay. This will be the most exciting part of the meeting. I'll try to make it kind of quick. There's a lot of documentation within this presentation. I'm not going to go over it line by line. I think you've had an opportunity to read it, but I would just want to point out some highlights. So we are going to cover a number of topics. First of all, you all should have received your line item budget book.
Yeah.
This year we put them in some binders because some people were having some trouble last year with the bindings and everything. So we thought that was a little bit easier to utilize. And also you should have a copy of the 2019 through 2021 categorical, which explains the major variances for the various departments. Prior to receiving those documents, you also received...
Lynn, you want to pull the mic right in front of you.
You also received a copy of the fiscal plan document that was presented to you at the end of April, in addition to the property tax overview document that was also presented at the end of April at the April 26th Finance Committee meeting. And then at your last board meeting, you received a copy of the county exact budget overview presentation. That was just a couple weeks ago. So there's been a lot of documentation that's been presented to you. On the agenda, one of the sections I don't have a particular slide on or a page on is we did add a new rate section to the budget document. That will be enhanced over time. Right now it mainly contains internal service fund rates, but it will also contain in the future other rates such as the health fee rate changes that have recently taken place that will include with the adopted budget book. So just so you know, the county's budget process is an ongoing process. It doesn't just, we don't just present the budget or recommend the budget, put it on the shelf and wait for the next year to arrive. It's a constant process of review, forecasting, amending. We amend the budget basically with every finance committee meeting, and we post those amendments in our financial system so that we know where we're at any given time. As I explained, we have various budget documents. Keep in mind that the categorical book explains the variances from one budget year to the next. We control the budget for the General Appropriations Act at 3 controllable levels: personnel, controllable operating, and internal support. And you'll see some common explanations throughout the categorical book regarding salary and fringe benefit adjustments, also maintenance department charges and IT development. So in a lot of general fund, or all of the general fund, general purpose areas, you will see that no one has an appropriation for IT development and maintenance department charges. Those are all budgeted and non-departmental and moved on a quarterly basis as needed. So the budget is broken down into 3 different fund types. We have general fund, general purpose, our special revenue funds, and proprietary funds. So the general fund, general purpose is our general operating, general fund budget, as well as our child care fund budget, which we provide a subsidy for. Those budgets, or the general fund budget, is primarily supported by tax revenue, charges for services, and intergovernmental revenue. As far as special revenue, you may know that this is mainly made up of grant funds, and it does have an impact on the general fund if there are grant match requirements for those grants. Proprietary funds, those funds operate like a business. We have 2 different types of proprietary funds: enterprise funds and internal service funds. So for the enterprise funds, their customer base is primarily outside of the county department structure, meaning that it provides services to local municipalities, individuals, even outside the county borders, such as Clemens, who has a regional program. So enterprise funds, listed on page 586 of the presentation, list the various enterprise funds that we have, primarily Columbus, airports, fire records, parks, DTRF, water resources, various water and sewer systems, both at the sewage disposal systems that we own and operate, and the retail water and sewer systems that we have operating agreements with. Internal service funds are funds where the customer base is primarily within the county departments, such as facilities, managing all of our county campus buildings, motor pool, providing the fleet to the various departments as needed. There's no significant changes in those internal service fund budgets. with the exception of doing a rate adjustment within the fringe benefit fund to provide a scaled down rate for the next several years as outlined in the fiscal plan document that was presented to you in April. You will notice that with, and this was covered during the year-end process, with the implementation of GASB 75 for the fringe benefit fund, we are now reporting that liability for retiree health care on the balance sheet versus the operating statement. So it is still a cost to the fringe benefit fund. It is still included in the rates. You just will not see a line item for the principal portion of that debt. It's still accounted for within the fund though. As far as budgeting, the budget by fund type, I'm referring to page 589 of your packet, your PDF page numbers. The general fund represents about 52% of the overall county budget. For 2019, the recommendation is $893.3 million, and by the time we get to 2021, it's $901.5 million. I'm now on page 591 of the overview. Again, this is providing an explanation at a high level between the amended 2018 budget to the 2019 recommendation. So again, the overall recommendation is $893.3 million, which reflects a $12.7 million reduction from the 2018 amended budget. And the primary reason for that decrease is within the general fund, which is a reduction of $12 million, and that's primarily because of one-time type appropriations that have been made for projects. So as noted on this page, projects such as security projects, the Universal Communications Project, HIPAA, there was a $1.7 million appropriation for debt service for animal control that took place in 2018. Those were one time, so we're not expecting, obviously if we need to appropriate dollars from the use of assigned fund balance for projects, those will be amended and brought to you through a separate resolution. Special revenue funds decreased slightly, about $600,000, and that's mainly due to the varying grant award amounts and timing of those awards. Proprietary funds for 2019 are at $364.9 million, a slight $100,000 reduction. It does reflect a change in the DTRF transfer to the general fund that was previously appropriated at $6 million per year and now is at $3 million for the foreseeable future, and that's at the recommendation of the county treasurer's office to maintain close to that $200 million target equity level within the DTRF fund. I will point out that while the 2017 closing records had the DTRF fund slightly below the $200 million mark at I think about $197.46 million, the DTRF fund is well positioned to maintain it and meet all of its obligations, and we're expecting to be over that $200 million target once we reach 2023. Moving on to page 592 of your PDF packet, the 2020 variance from 19 to 20 is a slight increase of about $300,000. There are routine changes that we're making for salary adjustments, fringe benefit factor for medical costs. We do add in a $1.5 million increase in interest expense for any planned or any anticipated need that we may have for cash flow needs. We have done this in the past, although we have yet to realize a need to issue any tax anticipation notes, but we like to have it in the budget just in case. I think our plan is always looking towards thoughtful management versus having to go into crisis mode. Not a lot of changes in the special revenue and proprietary funds. For 2021, the budget recommendation is up to $901.5 million, which represents a $7.9 million increase. The majority of that increase is within the general fund, again for some of those changes reflecting salary and fringe benefit adjustments, medical costs, reserve amounts, and it also reflects an appropriation placeholder that has been placed and was discussed at length in the fiscal plan document. One of those items being $2.3 million For ongoing technology costs, I think we mentioned this during the presentation of the HR and financial system, where we're moving to a cloud-type program, which we will have ongoing costs versus one-time type capital startup costs. And it also reflects a $1.6 million anticipated worst-case scenario radio system debt service payment. So again, these are appropriation placeholders that have been placed in the non-departmental, not within operating departments at this point. Moving on to page 594, this is just kind of showing you, slicing and dicing the information a little bit by revenue source. Property tax revenue remains our largest source of revenue. It's 51% of the budget when you look at all revenues budgeted, but if you remove the planned use of fund balance, it represents about 55%. So again, property tax remain the largest revenue in the general fund. We have a lot of pre-planning that we have to do to anticipate what we think that property tax values are going to be, multiply that times the anticipated millage rate, and we have to do this 18 months in advance of before the actual levy. So with the General Appropriations Act, it is, as noted in the prior fiscal plan document and the property tax overview document that was presented at the end of April, the millage rate that is recommended is 4.04 mils for 2019. And if you refer to chart 5 in the line item book, on page 26 of that line item book, it will show you that we have a long-standing history of levying below the millage rate because we need to stay ahead of those heavy rollbacks that have been happening for the last several years. You know, with low inflation and limitations on tax value increases, that is going to further subject the millage rate, the maximum authorized, to heavy rollbacks. So again, the millage rate recommended for 2019 with the General Appropriations Act is 4.04 mils. With the budget recommendation, we also have a plan, it's in the plan to possibly reduce that millage rate down to 4 mils. It's starting in 2020 and again to 3.95 in 2022 and 3.90 in 2023. So those are things that are constantly being looked at and will be adjusted as needed as we get into the next budget cycle. For property tax revenues, the 2019 anticipates an adjustment to real property of 5% and 4.5% thereafter. And I've kind of already talked about this on 597. It's important that we do those projections in a timely manner to avoid any issues or any type of crisis management that we would have to undergo if the rollback was greater than the projected millage rate that we have in the budget. Again, we have to do that 18 months in advance. We do receive personal property tax loss reimbursement. That is not budgeted within the tax revenue category. The state dictates that that be placed in a line item called Local Community Stabilization Share. That is within the intergovernmental revenue within the county's budget. So for the last couple of years, we've budgeted to anticipate reimbursement at 100% reimbursement rate. 2016 was our first reimbursement, and we actually received a reimbursement rate of 265%. Then last year, we received a reimbursement rate of 285%. We cannot budget to anticipate receiving that windfall. So what we did with those one-time type windfalls is we utilized them for one-time type projects. So last year, when our favorability was about $1.7 million, with the first quarter forecast 2018, we moved that $1.7 million to pre-fund the animal control debt service.
I remember that.
Yeah, yes, and that will be adjusted with that law change. And we also see that with 2018 distribution, we'll be receiving that distribution in October versus November, which is before we officially close the books for the fiscal year. So that will avoid any unknowns of what that complex calculation and distribution will be.
Okay.
Charges for services is the next revenue category. It represents about 24% of the general fund revenue of about $112.6 million. So that's made up of fees that we charge to other governmental, for example, law enforcement services that the sheriff's office provides, or equalization services that Mr. Heber's office provides. There are also individual and business type fees that are charged out for birth certificates, vaccinations through the health department, that type of thing.
Okay.
And there are about 14% of that overall charges for services revenue relates to court fines and costs. As far as intergovernmental revenue, that's the next largest category. For 2019, it's about almost $66 million. That includes our revenue sharing payment from the state of Michigan at $26.4 million. Out of that $26 million, is about $5 million of that represents county incentive program funding, which you have to meet certain requirements in order to obtain that funding. That includes producing and providing a citizen's guide, performance dashboard, debt service reports, and a projected budget report. You have to make that information readily available on your website, and it is on the home page of the county's website under the accountability link. We also receive child care subsidy, representing about 50%, or representing 50% of the eligible costs. Starting in 2018, we started to receive a 10% admin rate reimbursement on those eligible costs, because they did make some changes to the handbook whereby they no longer were going to allow full building costs or technology costs and direct costs. They instead changed it to allow for a 10% fee or revenue on that eligible direct cost. So right now we are actually seeing that it is a benefit to the county. We're actually ahead of the game, so we hope to continue that. Also want to mention the convention facility tax revenue of $9.6 million. 50% of that does have to be used for substance abuse prevention and treatment programs. So we pay 50% of that funding to the coordinating agency, which is Oakland Community Health Network, formerly CMH. As mentioned previously, we do have a transfer into the general fund from the DTRF fund that has been reduced from $6 million annually to $3 million. Now moving on to expenditures by category. We control the budget again at 3 controllable levels: personnel, operating, and internal support. Personnel represents the largest portion of that expenditure, around 63%. So it's important to note that we do budget for full employment, and we do factor in the point that we know that we're never going to be at full employment. We do have a turnover factor that's referenced in the fiscal plan of $8 million annually.
What was that percentage, Lynn? 63%?
63%.
Okay.
Personnel.
Yeah.
We also broke down the revenue and expenditures by function. We have administration of, I'll start out with the number one expenditure is in law enforcement, which represents the sheriff and prosecutor's office, followed by the county exec, which is all the county exec departments. Third is the courts, administration of justice, and then general government, which represents the board of commissioners, clerk's office, treasurer, general fund type functions. And as we have done for the last couple of years, we've continued to include a separate section within the line item budget book for the capital improvement plans. Previously, they used to be interdispersed throughout the book, so we thought this was a little bit easier to be able to see them all in one section. Most notably includes the county's overall capital improvement program, which the general fund is continuing to transfer $5.5 million annually to the building improvement fund. There will be a separate capital improvement program presentation at the next planning and building meeting on August 14th, and then again at the finance committee on the 16th. On P at page 608. This is getting into showing some of the history of the general fund over the last 5 years. So if you look back at 2013, you can see that we had added a significant amount to the general fund balance. The primary reason for that is we had considerable personnel favorability. At that time, we had hiring restrictions in place, and we utilized a lot more PT&E staff during that hiring freeze process. So you can see that why the fund balance went up. The reason for that is mainly because of the personnel expenditure favorability. In 2017, we did realize a $9.5 million increase to the general fund, and that's mostly due to timing of certain projects that were being brought forward for one-time appropriations. The last meeting, we did bring forward the financial and HR system. That was a significant dollar amount that we originally had anticipated taking in 2017. So again, the county's budget focus is on the long-term forecasting model. We do a 3-year line item budget, but then a 5-year higher level forecast. And if you refer to I believe it's page 28 and 29 of your line item book, that's the 5-year forecast that we're including with the recommendation. Obviously, there are budget resolutions or Board of Commissioner resolutions that are constantly being brought to the board, and we have to adjust those budgets when those resolutions are brought forward. So that 5-year forecast will be updated as those amendments are presented. We do also have a chart 6 on page 27 of the line item book. That shows the projected fund balance for the general fund through 2023. So at this point, as of the closing of 2017 records, the fund balance status was about 62.9% of annual ongoing operations. Our fund balance policy that was formalized and accepted in 2015 has a target equity level of 20%. So if you look at that chart 6, you will see that basically we're right about at target, 20.1% of the annual ongoing operations by the time we reach 2023. So again, this is an ongoing process. We will continue to monitor that to make sure that we do not fall below that target percentage of 20%. So just to summarize, kind of moving quickly here, the budget is balanced long-term through 2023. We continue to utilize fund balance as planned, with the reliance on that fund balance declining over time. A number of issues, as noted at the county executive presentation during the Board of Commissioner meeting. There are some federal and state issues that could have an impact on our budget. And again, any unresolved or open issues that have a potential to impact our budget could affect the general fund, requiring timely action by administration and by the Board of Commissioners to maintain that fiscal stability and sustainability that we have enjoyed over the years. At yesterday's HR committee meeting, so the rest of this presentation includes a copy of the HR recommendation for the 2019 salary recommendation. At yesterday's HR committee meeting, they took action to fill in a couple of the blanks that are noted on the recommendation. So if you look at 615 of your PDF packet, you'll see item number 3 and number 4 contain blanks. What was voted on unanimously at the HR committee meeting was to provide a 2% salary adjustment to county exec, prosecuting attorney, county clerk, registered deeds, water resource commissioner, sheriff, and county treasurer effective September 29th. This is in line with the what's included in the recommended budget. Item number 4 was filled in to provide a 2% salary adjustment for county commissioners effective January 1st, 2019, and a Me Too adjustment for January 1st, 2020. So by using the Me Too language, that allows for if next year we come back, and right now we have a 1% placeholder for salary adjustments. If that were to go up or down, that Me Too language will allow for that same change.
Okay.
So the salary recommendation will be included in the Finance Committee recommended budget book for approval with the budget at the end of September. And then just highlighting, if you can hand out the amendment list. As we've done in previous years, we've produced an amendment list. We don't need action taken at this particular Finance Committee meeting. The list contains resolutions that have been adopted by the Board of Commissioners subsequent to the release of the county recommendation. Those are listed in Section A of the amendment list. And then there could be items added through the HR or Finance Committee during the budget hearing process. Those will be reflected in the schedule as they are presented to those committees. And then last is we do have a Section C of the amendment list that represents some changes that we need to make, basically corrections. If you refer to the second page of the document that was just handed out to you, there are 5 current adjustments on there. Most of them are just line item adjustments, do not impact the bottom line. There's one for the clerk register of deeds within the register of deeds automation fund, not within the general fund, that adjusts their recording fee revenue and professional services budget, bringing it down by $800,000. And then the other one that changes the bottom line is with the budget process, the sheriff civil service fee revenue was reduced by $150,000. However, it was inadvertently missed to reduce the expenditure side, so that's actually reducing the budget by $150,000. So again, no formal action is needed today on this amendment list. However, we will be asking for action at the August 30th budget wrap-up meeting to authorize the various amendments that appear on this list.
Okay. As we go through the budget process, if we put stuff on a list and then come to a solution, it will be in that area C, correct?
Correct.
So, okay. Wade has a question.
No, just a comment, Lynn. Great job. Thank you very much. My one concern, and I think I've voiced this before, I think it's a great budget, but I am concerned that our equity target level is going to be at 20%, and we're targeting that in the budget for 2023. I think most governmental entities would be jealous of a 20% equity level, but we've dropped off considerably in spending this money on capital improvements and so forth. I don't think we'll be at the 20% target level. I think the way we budget for personnel and employment will never reach 100% employment, so I think we'll probably exceed that. But personally, I get a little nervous when we get down to a 20% equity level. And again, that's just me personally, and I think that a lot of cities, municipalities, townships, counties would love to have that, and I think that will maintain our AAA bond rating. But man, I'd really get nervous getting that close and being at that low. So hopefully, as we go through this process, we'll never get that low. But I'm concerned if we do.
And that's kind of the beauty of doing this longer-term forecasting. That's where we see ourselves in 5 years. Obviously, we're continuing to look at that, basically on a daily basis. Things that come up that could have an impact. I think the administration is committed to living up to that fund balance policy and maintaining that target. So if we see things that would impact that, we would have to alleviate some of that one-time type spending.
Yeah, and I think we will.
Yeah, in addition to what Lynn mentioned about the one-time type of spending, we certainly would slow that down. But I just wanted to point out that 20.1% includes an assumption of $8 million in turnover savings each year. So that is baked into that number. And as Lynn pointed out, we achieved a little over $9 million last year. So it's pretty accurate at this point.
Okay.
So I just would caution you that, we just need to slow down on some of those, one-time type of requests.
Yeah.
And so with that 20%, the target being hit in 2023, it doesn't allow for any really wiggle room to introduce or expand for new programming at this point. So request that came through departments, there was a vetting process had to go through. How are you going to be able to provide this? They need to make line item adjustments within their existing budget, adjust personnel, or there were some, I guess most notably, there was some adjustment within the institution line items for the child care fund that shifted some of that funding around to be able to provide funding for some of their needed requests that took place.
Okay. Also, this is a rolling budget, and it's always important whenever you talk to anybody about we do a 3-year budget, they get all bent out of shape that how do you get these numbers to be exact? And we say we adjust this budget on a rolling basis, and that's how we're able to get the financial stability we have, is by having that forecast out there, but to be able to adjust that as we're moving through to be able to stay close to those goals and guidelines. So, Eileen? I gotta write this.
Well, just as a general question, because it's across a lot of different departments, I know that on one slide you mentioned 4% variable, I believe, for fringe benefit. And I noticed in quite a few of the departments that the fringe benefit adjustments had dropped precipitously, which I guess that's a good sign, but some remain the same, some a little bit more, but overall I kind of noticed a trend towards them.
So yeah, there's two parts into that. So the fringe benefit has a rate reduction that is charging departments over the next 4 years. And then within non-departmental, we anticipate a placeholder of 4% for the increase on medical costs, the medical costs that are going to be realized or potentially realized by the fringe benefit fund and then would be passed on. Okay. That's a placeholder. It's not built into the fringe benefit rate at this point.
It's a non-departmental rate reduction.
Correct. Yes, it's a temporary rate reduction for all funds, customers of the fringe benefit fund, with the general fund impact being about $4 million in 2019.
Okay. Any other, Commissioner Quarles?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A revenue sharing, can you go and improve or?
The budget, it's static. We are projecting no change with the recommendation. However, we're seeing possibly a 1% increase for 2019. But we left it as, yeah, we did not budget for that 1% that they were recommending. We left it static. So the fiscal plan reflected a rate of a possible 1% rate reduction. We left it static within the budget, and hopefully.
Yeah, the House wanted to do a 1% increase, the Senate wanted to do a 1% decrease. So yeah, in the end, we just left it the same.
And what is state court equity revenue? 4.5 now.
Yeah, 24 of the. And we received with the non-departmental a distribution from the state, and it's based on, I think it's the number of cases or number of trials that come through, that we've seen that revenue stream come down somewhat. Previously, I want to say it was $5 million, and we're seeing about $4.5 million. And the distribution, is my understanding, is mainly based on caseload.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thanks a lot, Lynn. We need a voice vote to receive and file. All those in favor of receive and file item number 15 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Is there any other business to come before the Finance Committee? If not, I will recess the Finance Committee and we will go into the public hearings. We'll take a break, and if you have to leave when you come back, when we have a quorum again, we will start our budget hearings. So at least 5 minutes, but it might take a little longer than that. I'd like to reconvene the Finance Committee for budget hearings. Roll call.
Koa? Zach?
Oh.
Zach? Here.
Eileen?
Mom?
Here.
Tub? Here. Koa? Here.
Okay.
Fleming?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Woodward?
Here.
Quarles? Here. Middleton?
Here, everybody's back. So let's start our hearings. And first on the list is County Exec. And Jerry, you want to start out?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a simple request. If you will give us $893,309,673, we'll deliver quality government again for the next year.
I think we're about $3 short.
And we have this book and this book. Any questions?
We're in a hurry, but you can go into a little more depth than that, yes.
Well, thank you. On behalf of the county executive.
Before you start, I have to thank Shelley for giving us a little nutrition. She thought we wouldn't quite make it all the time, so there's a little nutrition. Go ahead, Jerry.
Thank you. Again, but I will be brief. On behalf of the county executive, we thank you for inviting us over to make these presentations. As in prior years, the way the county executive sets this up, we represent about 1,549 of the total employment for the county through county executive departments. We have available for you today the directors and senior managers of all the county executive departments and divisions. I will make a very brief presentation on the county executive administration, which is 62 of those folks, and it includes primarily, besides the county executive central office and the central office administrative staff, it's the compliance office and its risk management and its corporation counsel and media relations are who are in that group. That starts out, the layout there is on page 357 of your big book if you want it. Basically, we've asked for a status quo budget for the county executive administration offices. The one change you'll see in professional services line item is an additional $300,000, and that's in anticipation of, we know going forward, given the regional efforts that are underway, we need expertise, especially as it relates to water and sewer. Water and sewer is about $1 billion a year, more or less, of money, of which a substantial portion comes from Oakland County communities. It requires more than full-time work, and while Mr. Dado has been doing the yeoman's job handling that, we believe that we need to establish at some point an organization within the county government who's dedicated with the professional skills of accounting and rate making, so that we can best represent the communities of Oakland County as it goes forward. Before we do any of that, of course, we would be back to you with an outline for direct approval, but that accounts for the $300,000 difference in that professional services line item. Absent that, if you have any questions on the administration portion, I'll be happy to answer it, or we could move on to the next department.
I can briefly cover the rest of the areas if you like. There's very few changes that you haven't seen already. I think at the last meeting you saw a major reorganization in the Department of Human Services. That's reflected in here. You've already taken action on that. There are a few line item increases in animal control services for supplies and also in medical examiners. Very slight increases. You'll see a position deletion in equalization of a senior equalization clerk. That was done, we had a vacancy and we freed up that position to help fund a full-time position in human resources. So within the county executive area, if we have a need in one area, all the directors work together to find resources to shore up the entire county executive function as a whole. And I think there's some other human resources position changes which they can address in addition that are also self-funded. Beyond that, and the PeopleSoft implementation obviously had some implications on the budget which are also reflected in here as changes. Yeah, and you acted on that at your last meeting.
Okay. Shelley and then Zach.
Okay, I'll ask just one question quickly. Anything on indigent defense? What are we anticipating?
We anticipate about noon today that Malcolm Brown, our deputy HR primary oversight and labor relations, has a mediation conference call with MIDC. We're working through the differences in our plans. they really don't have the legal authority to accept parts of a plan and reject others until December. They've already amended the law that's not affected until December. We believe that we're down to basically two areas of disagreement. The prosecutor asked for substantial resources to address her needs, about 23 APAs for the new hearings. The state refuses to pay any prosecutor cost. And there's also a request in there for more magistrate hours for the 52nd District Courtroom with a funding unit for, and the state is refusing to pay for any more magistrate hours. So those are going to be the primary things at this point that we're going to be talking about in mediation. And we are within our strategy going forward is we'll do what we are required to do under the law, but we will continue to fight for the remuneration for the taxpayers we believe the law mandates that the state pays. Now, that's on the first four standards. The next four standards or five standards are coming out. They will have some profound impacts in terms of cost, especially when they establish the caseload standards officially and the compensation standards for indigent defense is where we're gonna, I think they're gonna go, we pay by events right now and have been for decades, preliminary exams worth X, a trial, non-capital, trial capital, et cetera. They're looking to switch primarily to an hourly based function. And I think the numbers they're kicking around is about 110 for non-traffic misdemeanors, 120 for felonies, and 130 for capital felonies, something along those lines. So that would require an infrastructure of bill review and changes. As we look at that going forward, as I've mentioned to you before many times, ultimately the end game of this may well be that we need to establish a Office of Public Defender in the county. There's significant policy decisions involved in that, if you read the literature nationally, they keep trying to find a way to establish offices of public offenders that somehow aren't subjected to this unseemly appropriations process. Somehow they're supposed to be above the appropriation process because what they're doing is inherently full of conflict, because the executive is going to recommend, the legislative body is going to fund, the judiciary now, the new standards are they have to be totally independent of everything. Figuring out how to make that work within an Act 139 county and frankly within the counties in the state of Michigan will be subject to more discussion. We've engaged on some of it. I personally think one of the things I'm advocating for is going to be some kind of oversight panel that reports to the Board of Commissioners, because they've got to get the money from there. You don't want the same county executive, in my opinion, the same executive branch type of function recommending funding levels for the sheriff and the criminal defense unless you just link them and tie them by some formula. There's some problems there. There's more problems than it sounds like on billing review, because the question becomes, you can't practice law if you're not an attorney. You've got a privileged confidential communications during the course of litigation. You need an expert. Well, I don't think you need an expert. Well, who am I to tell you? You're representing your client. These things in the real world will require some hashing out over time in terms of money. It's all doable. It's just money. Our view from the outset, and you might recall I told you a year ago, is to make sure that the Headley requirements are honored. We're perfectly willing to do in the end what the state wants as long as they pay for it, because that's how it works in our government. So that's where we are with MIDC.
Okay, Commissioner Todd.
Okay, setting all that aside, I don't want to set it aside, I get it, but what about a facility? What about a physical building?
At some point, we're going to address that, but what I'm telling you, it's not in this budget today. And, we're going to have, there are some physical changes to building that are in the plan that we've been led to believe for the most part are going to be approved initially. But again, it's going to be a moving target because the standards aren't settled. And frankly, till you get further down the road and you know exactly what the standards are going to be, it's going to be very hard. Obviously, if we create a public defender's office, they're going to have facilities. They're probably going to have to be fairly close to the courthouse and to a jail, et cetera, et cetera. So it can be and will be quite costly. But the policy decision's been made by the legislature, so we took an oath to enforce the laws. That's what we're going to do.
As Jerry mentioned, it is not in the document before you as far as process. It will likely come before you as a separate resolution like you do for all other grants, and it will be amended, and it will be a new special revenue fund. And And we'll give you the financial implications at that time as we know more.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Elaine? Yeah.
Okay, a couple of questions. Economic development, it's actually the big book, 267, line 731458, professional services. What are they? What's it? Okay, page 267 of the big book. And it's under
Professional services.
Yeah.
operating expenses, professional services.
Can you make it bigger?
And it is 731458. And our
Way down.
actual expense was 650,000, adopted budget 6752, amended is $1 million. What is
Different
this?
page 267.
Items that,
Which-
it's the.
That's a division, she's on the department one.
267?
What's
Yeah, I'm on the page.
Different, no, it's different.
For the PDF or the book?
The PDF is different than
Book.
the book. That,
The
we're
book.
on that.
We're gonna
Go
do
back
the
to
book now.
286.
Yeah.
Just look for the page number at the bottom.
You want that division?
I know. I followed you.
It's gonna be above that.
I followed you, Helene. I thought you were very
You're on
clear.
272.
She said the line item and everything. No one can find it.
So
Professional services.
731458.
Everybody
There it is,
knows
there it
that
is.
it's a big number, and this is always a place where people interpret it
Yeah.
differently.
There you go.
And I wanna
Right.
understand that, and I also see a variance in the adopted budget versus amended. Say, why is there $250,000 variance?
The variance is attributed to carry forward from the previous year, where we had committed those funds for different activities. And some of the things that fall under, and Dan, please chime in when you get a chance, that fall under professional services for economic development are services that we contract outside. For example, like some of the Main Street activities that we do, some of our marketing and PR activities that we do, are some of our, what else, Dan, falls under that? Yeah, Magnolia's program falls under that. She knows she processes the bills. So those type of activities fall under professional services. I know like our Hoover's database, our ESRI.
Primarily Main Street, Oakland County, the economic forecast that we do with the University of Michigan, the NOHAS contract that changes from year to year. Those are the main items. We also had a carry forward, as Irene indicated, for connected vehicle strategy, which we're still working on. So it's not a consistent line item from year to year. But those are the main items.
Okay, thank you. Then I have another question. We received, I understand that there was a miscalculation or whatever in our retirement account, or part-time, not retirement, but retirees that left the county and then came into service. And there might be some type of liability, whether it be for the employees or the county. And what's a projected budget, like worst case scenario for this situation? And is it in our existing budget?
If I may, initially, what I'll tell you is, wasn't a miscalculation, it was a misapplication of a rule for the last 40 years. Yeah, about 40 years. The amount of money is going to be dependent on what we can negotiate with the IRS. And we don't have any idea at this point in time. Our strategy is, we discovered we had a problem, a mistake, and we went to the IRS. We're going to the IRS and say, this is what's happened, this is what's here, how do you want to handle this? And governments around the country have done this before in terms of that approach, and one or two on this particular topic as well. And then we'll know. But are there funds available to pay it? There are funds available both on the fringe benefit fund side, technically in the retirement side. There's funds available to pay whatever the cost might be, we think. But before there's any settlement, of course, that would go through the county process and it would come back here to the Board of Commissioners, so you would know. And it really revolves around the primary issue. There's multiple issues, but primary issue is on the deferred compensation, the 457 accounts. There's a, apparently if you ever come back and work for your employer where you stored them, you can just never withdraw from that amount. So that's the one that's going to be most problematic for us to figure out how to take care of that. And when we looked at the origins of the rules from the 1940s, it was basically designed for entrepreneurs who had businesses where they dump everything into a 457, leave on a Friday, come back on a Monday, and loot all the money back out of that. So they were trying to figure out a way to stop that. What's happened in recent years when more governments went, recent years being like the last decade or so, went to that, they'd have people that would go back and retire and then come back as a contract employee type thing at the same job, same rate of pay and everything like that. So those issues, for us, it's primarily, it hits across the county, but it primarily affects our security services because we hire a lot of retired officers back as PTNEs, and they kind of are the backbone of our system. So we've been working with the sheriff, and of course we've met with all the countywide electeds at this point and all the managers or scheduled them. So we have an idea of from pragmatically who that would address. But I'm just really sorry, I just can't tell you what a number is right now. We hope it's low, but we were confident that we could handle it.
Yeah, we went through an IRS audit on the retirement
they didn't
system just a few
I
years
mean, this
ago.
is, we don't understand it at all, what we missed, because we had experts set this up. We've had lawyers through the retirement system. We had ICMA, we had Fidelity. IRS came in and audited it, and it's just like we did. They audited the plan. It's just until we did the change in vendors, and Fidelity and ICMA went away, and Prudential got both sides. Prudential looked at us and said, "Well, you can't do that."
They have their vendors. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just it's there. It's happened. It's yeah.
My function is to say what.
It's great. I understand completely. And
I'm being told that there are some sources of funding to help offset, because I don't want the employees to have to.
Well, our directive from both, and I have been briefing at least the board chair on this, but the county executive's position is we as the county accept the responsibility for the mistake in the retirement board. We don't want the employees and the retirees to pay a price for that, and we do have sufficient reserves, we think, to be able to handle this as long as it stays sane in terms of whatever they want to do, and we're optimistic that we'll be able to work it out. It's unfortunate that it happened, and it will affect us dramatically going forward, because you're not going to come back and work for the county if you want to withdraw your 457.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Todd.
Yes, I have another question. Excuse me, and this is on line 731101 and 731339. The first is library continuations, which I believe page 198. Okay, that's each one of your budgets, each one of your departments has those two lines in there, and I believe the library continuations are probably legal books, periodicals, books, publications, that's whatever. And I want to make this very clear before I ask the question. I want everyone in this county to have as much information, as many books as they need, computer, whatever, if Phil will allow it, as much as whatever they need to make this county continue to be the best county in the country. Okay. That being said, I'm wondering, when you order these books, and I don't know if you know this by department or not, do you order them yourselves? You decide what you wish to have, which is fine with me, and then you just order them, or do you have to go through another person to order them?
Well, the departments, through their various staff, order different types of publications and
Right.
what they need, and there's an approval process on spending the money that goes up. But it's like we don't need the library board's permission to order anything, or we don't need other thing. It's an appropriated line item. It's like anything else. The department managers will make recommendations based upon what their staff wants, and that goes up through a series of approvals and procurement, so it's pretty
Okay.
routine.
But you basically do the ordering of any period, any magazines or such that yourself, is that correct? And
Lynn just pointed out, because it's done by P-card transaction, that means the individual within the county executive administration is the one that ordered it.
For the Okay.
library
Not the-
continuations
yeah,
line
not-
item.
Not
Yeah.
the library staff.
And if
Okay.
you want to know how that really works, is we ask our administrative assistants and secretaries to order it, because none of us are stupid enough to carry a P card. They've got it, and they keep track of it for it. That way we make sure the paperwork's all there. And
Yeah.
on the P card, you might recall, there's some pretty severe limitations. If you try and charge something that the P card people outside don't think is in there, they don't have it through when they call the
Okay.
facility. So it's
Yeah,
pretty
so it's
regulated.
basically whatever anybody needs to do their job.
Right.
Okay, and the ordering is done by staff assistants perhaps, or some people may do it themselves, but whatever. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Jerry, you want to introduce the people you have in audience?
Dave, why don't we start with Dave Vanderveen?
Oh, a long time
And
no see.
everybody go around the room from the county executive offices and please introduce yourselves.
Mark Newman, Director of Public Services.
Gay is a sheriff now, so.
I wish I worked over there.
Sheila Letty, MSU Extension.
Eric Schmidt with Community Corrections.
Joellen Shortley, Corporation Counsel.
Tom Hardesty, Homeland Security.
Bob Gatwood, Animal Shelter.
Garth Witten, Veteran Services.
Ian Stafford, Health Division.
Kathy Forsley, Health and Human Services.
Mike Tim, IT.
Jeanette McKenna, IT. Irene Spanos, Economic Development and Community Affairs.
Angelina Flores, Board of Commissioners of Attorney.
They won't really let you leave, they just
Sure they will. It just requires an escort.
Phil Bertolini, Deputy County Executive.
Sean Phelps, Fiscal Services. Edith Luke Jones, Fiscal Services. Kim Kimberly Albrockley, Fiscal Services. Terry Rockmiller, Fiscal Services. Monica Simpson, Fiscal Services.
Dan Hunter, Economic Development and Community Affairs.
Stacy Smith, Fiscal Services. Jody Overall, Children's Village.
Tim Myers, Deputy County Executive.
Kevin Houston, HR. Lauren Taylor, Human Resources.
Art Holdsworth, Facilities Management. Joe Murphy, Manager, Facilities Management, Operations. Maintenance and Operations.
Oh, here he is.
In Hungary, near the Snickers Bar.
He's funny.
Morning, Ed Joss, Manager of Facilities Planning and Engineering.
Okay. Well, you kind of filled up the room, not sure.
Well, actually, we got the overflow.
Oh,
If you guys out there in overflow would shout. Oh. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. So, if there's no other questions, we will go to the next, and I think it's probate court is next. I'm going to put it over here. Where's probate court? Oh, there's. She's there talking. What's her first name?
Kathleen.
Oh, okay, Kathleen Kelly.
Kate, I think she goes by Kate.
We need to get back in order. Next, we have probate court, And Kate, you want to start?
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much, everyone, for providing myself and the probate court, all consisting of two today. And, and this is Ed Hutton, our administrator, and John Cooperetter, who is for both courts. We're here today, obviously, for the budget proposal, and I wanted to just give you a little bit of background on the state of the probate court lately. Without going into detail, I know you've all been exposed to a little bit of it recently, I hear. Anyhow, some obstacles we're facing with probate court are we have decreased staff, and that's just from the natural fallout of 2008, and we also have decreased staff experience. In the last 2 years, our probate court has lost over 300 years of experience just from retirements, and there's a lot more to come. And we also have an increase in the complexity of all the matters that are being filed before us, and we're also about to face an expected explosion of filings with the baby boomers coming up. Just for an example, in 2003, there was 2,772 active adult guardianship cases. In 2017, there was 4,526. In the next 20 years, actually more like 10 years, we're expected to double in our age in population over 65, which is about 10 years earlier than all the other states in the nation. I don't know why that is, but that's what the statistics are showing. So, with that being said, pardon? Silver tsunami. Yes, the silver tsunami. But with that being said, I'm very proud to say that just since January 1, we've really done a lot in anticipation of what's to come. We've utilized a lot of resources now that the county has provided with us. We've collaborated with the county execs, the IT department, the business department, human resources, who also, we have Plant Moran working with us on this project called the Lean Project. They came in about a year ago, assessed our probate counter with our decreased staff, and gave us some recommendations on how to streamline things and utilize the resources we have to make it more efficient. We finally met with them, was it last week or a couple weeks ago? About 2 weeks ago, and we've already made some huge strides, so I'm very proud of that. For example, a couple things is we've been working with the IT department on this laser feast project, which is a county-wide project, but probate court is doing the first kind of stage of it, working out some wrinkles. And what that's going to do for probate, aside from the other parts of the county, is it's going to allow probate to autofill documents. Right now, everything's manual in probate. Unlike circuit, we don't have e-filing, we don't have all of that technology. So this is allowing us to autofill documents, do electronic signatures, so that reduces staff and human error, and it's also giving an opportunity for an efficient exchange between the different computer programs. We also are proud to say that we're the first probate court in the state of Michigan to file our documents with the Michigan Court of Appeals electronically. That just happened a couple weeks ago. What we've done in the past, you have to manually print every page out, copy the pages, put them in boxes, and mail them. And now we can just hit a button. And that just saves enormous time and money. So that's at the very final stages of that. We're also working on electronic displays for the public, which will direct customers and litigants to their proper destination, because the way our probate courts are set up is they're all over. They're all over the building. The department's kind of chopped up. So this way there'll be electronic displays, kind of like if you're at the airport. Where do I go? And some procedural information on that as well. We're also working real hard in collaboration with human resources, utilizing some training programs we're offering some of our staff, since they're so new and they don't have a lot of experience, how to shorten the lines. We're doing a public access electronic service area, which we never had before. So the public can come in and search the court files, fill out their forms, retrieve records, and eventually e-file. The state of Michigan's working on the e-filing right now for probate. That's about 4 or 5 years to come, though. It's just, there's a lot of glitches because probate is so unique and there are all these specific forms you have to use. Finally, I'm just going to give you a little bit of stats about our probate court performance in 2017 pursuant to the State Court Administrator's Office Performance Measure Report. Our clearance rate in 2017 for the estates and trust cases were 100%. That's unheard of. Our clearance rates for the guardianship and conservatorship cases were 99%. Our mental health and judicial admissions were 100% clearance rate. And for civil matters, which are the more complex matters, the trust matters and the contract matters that fall under that, our clearance rate was 93%. The state average in big counties, and the big counties are Oakland, Wayne, Macomb, and Kent, is only 91% for state cases in 35 days. We've disposed of 95%. And our civil and trust cases, the super complex ones, and Oakland County has more complex cases than most counties. The state average is 83%. We actually disposed of 95% of them. So despite all the struggles and obstacles that we've been facing, I am very, very proud of our staff, our courts, the judiciary, of being able to provide the public with the best services possible with what we have. And with that being said, we are in sync and agreement with the executive recommendation for the fiscal year 2019 budget as presented. And I don't know if anyone has any questions. We could go into more detail, but it might bore you. So.
Colleen, Commissioner Zach.
So, as the area agency on aging representative, and one of the people that co-led the 2010 Silver Tsunami Wave of Opportunity, and watching the numbers and the mental health issues.
Yes.
And I have to commend you in doing such a fabulous job with the resources and transitioning, moving forward. Love hearing that. With that said, do we have the adequate resources to run an efficient probate department as we're moving forward with these numbers?
I think at this juncture we do, and there's a little bit of unknown, there's some unknown variables at this point, because we're working with Plant Moran and Human Resources with this lean project. I'd be happy to provide a copy to all of you. I did give a copy to HR and Mr. Poisson and Mr. Bertolini, but this is a lean project that came out. Yes, and so we're working with them, and we're taking all of their recommendations and really restructuring everything. And our new hires, talk about baptism by fire. I mean, they just came in and, you know, it hasn't even 90 days, and a lot of changes have happened. So at this point, we're doing as best as we can, and I think we're going to be able to make more improvements. And once we lean down as much as we can, then we'll see if we need more staffing. Our big issue at this juncture would be staffing. But we can't really determine how much staff we need until we actually make our court a little more mainstream and more efficient. I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but it's in the air, but we're working on it.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're
Commissioner
welcome.
Cobb.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Judge Ryan, I first want to preface what I'm about to say to you and to your bench, that I want you to have whatever you need, okay, to be the best probate judges in the whole state, if not the whole country, okay. That being said.
I'm going to remember that.
Maybe I ought to.
Who's taking the minutes? Make sure that's in there.
Okay. I'd like to ask you a little bit about library continuations and periodicals, books, and publications. Does each judge order what he or she wishes, or how does that work?
The way it works.
Page 125 of the big book, yeah.
I got it. Yep. The way it works is our administrator comes to us in the beginning of the year and says, what periodicals do you need? And every judge, some want more, some want less. We have a budget allotment, but we do our own ordering. And I do know for a fact, my predecessor was Judge Moore, and Judge Moore was a very book person, and he had also, since he had different dockets, he had juvenile, he had family, and he had probate. So he got all those books. Well, then when I took over, I had 100% probate, so I said, I don't need those other periodicals. Plus, we're more of a Westlaw, Lexis type of generation. So the answer to your question is we order them ourselves. And each judge determines what they need and what's useful or not.
Now, your Westlaw, Lexis, are most of your judges now using mostly computers?
I would say yes. What I do, personally, I can't speak on behalf of my other colleagues, but I'll use Westlaw Lexis to find the cases, and then I'll go to the stacks But we only use the Court of Appeals and Michigan Court Reporters. We don't have the federal books or all the
Do you order
supplemental.
treatises?
No, we do not. We can get all of that online.
Okay, I just wanted to make, find out what.
No,
what
we
you're
can,
using.
but I would say 90% of the things we get are online.
Okay, all right, so you just basically go to staff and they use the P card as.
Yeah.
Yeah, and order whatever
I
it
think
is you
that's
need.
how they do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Okay.
guess the administrator goes and gets a P card someplace. Fill us in on that one, John. Ed hasn't had the opportunity yet.
Actually, some of them are ordered through P cards, but others are also ordered through the library board itself. Aaron at Snowbird does a lot of our ordering for us.
So would you be able to do your own ordering?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. I mean, there's no mystery about it. Your staff could do that as well, if need be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Commissioner Woodward.
Thanks, Judge. Thank you for being here.
Thank
Great
you.
job. Great, and great operation. I know that we've had some challenges, some ADA challenges and everything. Can you give us an update of where that is?
Oh, all right. Well, we've been kind of moving the courtrooms around while some of those ADA changes are being made in our courtrooms. Am I back in my courtroom today? I am, okay. I was in, for the last couple weeks, I was in courtroom 1E that made some ADA changes while they were working on my courtroom. And I'll tell you, it has been, it's taking away some seating spaces, but it's been wonderful. Because now there's more space for the wheelchairs to park, the people with the walkers and the crutches and, the big giant motorized wheelchairs. There's not this ingress-egress problem anymore. So people can actually, it's making our docket run smoother. We don't have to stop a case, which really holds things up. And more importantly, it took away the dignity of these individuals. They felt so embarrassed because, oh my gosh, everybody stopped for them to move around and get out of the courtroom. So that's been very, very helpful. And I want to thank the board and the county for working so hard with probate court and making those accommodations. It really has made a difference. I'm assuming my courtroom is going to be the exact same as that one, a little bit different. But yes, so and they're widening the doors so the wheelchairs can get in and out because now wheelchairs are larger. So they really have helped, and we're very grateful for that.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you very much, and I wish all of you who have primaries on August 2nd good luck.
Yes.
Remember to vote, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Don't forget to vote for yourself. Thank you very much.
Next is district courts. What page is district courts? 108, page 108 and page 23. Oh, maybe 107, yeah.
Not in the categorical. Categorical is 22, 23. Categorical begins on page
22.
On the big book, it begins on page 107.
Okay, we ready to start? Joe, you ready?
I am ready. Good
Okay,
morning.
Go ahead.
I'm Joe Fabrizio, and I'm the newly appointed Chief Judge of the 52nd District Court. I preside in the Clarkston Division, which is 52-2. We presented a combined budget, but it is broken down by division, the four respective divisions. And I have with me the court administrators of the four respective divisions. 52-1, Alex Black is all the way at my far right. 52-2, Sharon Roop is here for her last budget meeting. She's retiring effective tomorrow. So.
Yes.
And her replacement, although she's irreplaceable, is seated over in the corner, Brett Derry. She hails from Circuit Court, and I apologize to those members of Circuit Court who we have taken her from. Tom Fuentes is here from Rochester, 52-3. And Dana O'Neill is to my right. She is from 52-4 in Troy. We've had a bit of a turnover with court administrators over the past year. And there's a lot of changes taking place with people coming up to speed, but things are moving in the right direction. We have before you the 2019 proposed budget, and we're here to field any questions if you have them.
Any questions? Yes, Shelley.
Thank you. I wanted to commend one of your courts, and I think it's Clarkston. I don't know what judge you were at, which court now?
Clarkston, yes.
Well, hooray for Clarkston. Because if you happen to look, where am I now?
The big board.
If you look at, Clarkston is which number?
If you're looking at the library items,
Yes.
you may be looking at 52.4, which is Troy, because
That's
I think
right, it is
their
Troy.
their
You're
numbers
right.
are
very
very
I
low.
guess people can use computers in Troy, and that just thrills me. But my question to you basically is what I've asked everyone else. Hopefully you're moving more toward computers. I know younger judges and younger attorneys are all use computers for the most part. I can speak about that because I have one son who practices law here in this state, and he likes the books behind him, his old law school books, so that they look nice.
Right.
And then he takes a picture in front of them. But he doesn't use them. But he does dust them, he assures me. Okay, that being said, how do you order your books? You just order them through staff?
Well, there is a concerted effort, obviously, to track and make sure that we're not publishing or subscribing to unnecessary publications. Each judge does not have their own law library. They're pooled resources within each respective division. So obviously, a judge from Novi can't come up to Clarkston or pull a statute. And the vast majority of research is utilized through online Westlaw services. But that being said, each division does maintain a law library, and the books are not just simply gathering dust. They are actually utilized from time to time. I do believe, though, that it's a valid point that you make, that I mean, more and more online resources are available, and obviously we should see these library numbers certainly not go up in future years, but continue to progress down as more online resources are used. Yeah.
Okay, and I would appreciate that. There are several of us sitting around this table who support the 52nd District Courts, obviously, but we also support our own district courts. So we pay double taxes, so we would love to see those numbers drop if at all possible. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Woodward and Commissioner Zach.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning for being here. I have a question. How much does the 52nd use mediation as a way to resolve cases that are before you?
Okay, so ADA plans, alternative dispute resolution plans, ADR plans, excuse me, are strongly encouraged by SCAO, the Supreme Court administrative offices, and each judge utilizes different philosophies or has different philosophies as to how mediation should be utilized, whether or not it should be something that's sort of forced or imposed upon the litigation individuals, or whether or not it should be something that's offered as an option, but if the parties object, then it's not going to be forced upon them, which is my personal philosophy. I've always hated it as a practicing litigator when neither side really sees any benefit to mediation, or perhaps the amount in controversy is so low that protracted ADR hearings actually increase the litigation cost, as opposed to ripping off the Band-Aid and having an immediate trial on the issues. Things may be different perhaps in a circuit court level where you're dealing with more monies in controversy. But we do work closely with the Oakland County Mediation Center. We also refer cases out to mediation with individual attorneys or even non-attorneys who have specific expertise in various areas, and it is a very effective tool that we use. That in conjunction with case evaluation, which is offered through the Oakland County Bar Association, which are two separate mechanisms that we have for ADR.
Where would I go to get stats is the right word, and scale, like stats of like where mediation is used as a way of resolving the case? My issue, I mean, is about figuring out like how do we administer justice in a way as the least financial burden to people. And I agree with you, like parties don't want it, they shouldn't think in any, I guess the standard practice that is always offered as a potential viable solution to remediate something faster and at lower cost.
Correct.
Overwhelmingly can be lower cost if resolution.
It is always offered. I can speak certainly as to my own judicial philosophy, but I believe every judge in the 52nd District always offers it as an option. That's typically addressed at the first pretrial proceeding. And again, many cases don't justify prolonged litigation. Many times there's no real issues for them to litigate, and the case is resolved with the summary proceeding. Other times, like I said, the amount in controversy in district court is anything under $25,000, but sometimes we're dealing with lawsuits involving hundreds of dollars or low thousands or something like that. And as a judge, we're sensitive to that, and we try to minimize the number of times that somebody has to show up for court hearings and ADR hearings. Sometimes I'll ask the parties, would you prefer that we just schedule this for trial, and you can have one more court date, you have to show up with your witnesses, and this case can be put behind you. So, and that's in the best interest of justice many times.
So I guess where would I go with this? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Oakland County Mediation Center is tracking the success rate of those cases that are referred to Oakland County Mediation. Now, of course, that's just one, I'll call it vendor, but it's a big one. Many of the cases that are referred for mediation go to the Oakland County Mediation Center. And then likewise, the Oakland County Bar Association, which oversees case evaluation, they track very closely the numbers of cases that are referred to them and the success rates of cases that are resolved through that mechanism. We don't have a separate tracking through scale, as far as I'm aware. So the Supreme Court Administrative Offices, as far as I'm aware, is not specifically tracking the success rates of the various ADR processes, although they are strongly encouraging that it be utilized. Correct.
So if we wanted to have that announced, we need to go to those, principally those two entities to be able to get a handle on.
Yes, and they freely provide that information to the courts, usually on a yearly basis, quarterly basis, because obviously they want to demonstrate to us that it is successful and to continue to refer these cases for mediation or case evaluation.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Helene, Zach, you're on the list.
So I do see that you are collecting more ordinance filings and costs than you budgeted.
Okay.
And so what are you doing to collect these better? Have you made?
I don't know if the collection rates have increased. We do have what I regard to be favorable collection rates, but the case filings have increased, which may be the result that you're seeing with regard to increased revenues.
Well, I'm looking at on page 107, it says ordinance fines and costs, and so the actual is more than the budgeted expense, and so that's always good. And are you making special efforts to collect more? It's page 107 in our big book.
And that's for all
698-1421.
Right. Sure.
I think each of the divisions are making every attempt to step up collection efforts. But what Judge Fabrizio indicated is true. I think most of us had an increase of some sort in our filings in 2017, and we're projected to also have another increase this coming year. We did some stats, it's 7-8%, something like that.
Next question. One of the things that I'm always looking for, and I ask I think almost every year, do you collaborate with one another on staffing, things, ordering, things to enhance, save costs, and work as a team rather than those silos? Because you are technically all of 52nd. Have you made efforts to try and collaborate more?
I think this is a very positive thing that came out of the budget crises from 2008, 2009, 2010, is that we were forced to collaborate more and more, and I'm very happy and proud to report that we are operating more and more as one court of justice as opposed to 4 separate silos. The 4 separate court administrators and I meet physically in the same room, typically on a monthly basis, and there is a great deal of sharing of resources on an as-needed basis. Now, we each have our individual staffing issues, but when there's temporary needs, individuals that are on temporary leave or something like that, we do shift people around. For example, Novi has employees loaned out to Troy and has offered to assist Clarkston with an issue that we're having now with staffing on temporary basis. So,
That's
yeah.
great to hear,
Yeah.
because that wasn't necessarily the case. So those are the types of things that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I commend you to keep it up.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you for appearing before us. And congratulations, Sharon, and good luck in your retirement. Yeah. So, next is Circuit Court.
I heard that. All questions will be directed to Jeff Mattis.
We're gonna get you.
I've never sat down here before.
And I see you brought Mattis along.
Of course I did. I'm no dummy.
Yeah, he sat at this table before, but down at this end, so.
He's lucky I just didn't call in sick today. All right, good morning, everyone. My name's Shalina Kumar. I am the new Chief Judge of the Circuit Court. You know my dear friend to my right, Judge Jeffrey Mattis. He is my appointed presiding judge of the family docket. You all know Kevin Offner, our court administrator, Dave Bilson, our deputy court administrator, and John Cooperrider, our business division manager, and Suzanne Hollier, our friend of the court, is also with us today. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be here today. It's my first time, so I'm a little nervous and excited to get to go through this process for the first time. I want to thank the Board of Commissioners for our long-standing relationship. I do speak with other chief judges of other courts, and they do not enjoy the relationship with their funding units that we are so fortunate to have. So I want to thank you specifically for that and for always being open to our ideas and proposals and needs. So again, thank you very much. I know I've met with some of you. I am working my way through the long list of commissioners. I hope before the end of the year to be able to meet personally with all of you, because that is very important to me, to have that personal connection, and communication is my #1 goal. So I'm hoping to, again, make it through all of you by the end of the year. Today we're here for our budget hearing, and we reviewed the county executive's recommended budget. We are in full agreement with it. We have made some minor shifts in some line items, but the financial impact of the shifts is 0. We are not asking for anything. Everything is a net 0 for us. A big item that you might notice is we did ask for some additional deputy coverage. Unfortunately, especially on the family docket, there's an increased proclivity for violence in the courtrooms, particularly on motion call day. So we did shift some funds to the sheriff's budget, and I appreciate greatly their willingness to work with us on that. And so we're going to have some extra deputies for our courtrooms. But again, the net effect of that is 0. So all of the changes that we've asked for are reflected in the county executive's recommended budget. And do you have any questions for me?
Well, your big thing is you're getting another judge, aren't you?
We are getting another judge, thanks to you.
I would think that would be the highlight of it. So.
That is the highlight, yes.
Jeff?
Let's talk about it. Chairman Middleton, please.
I wasn't going to be the one to bring it up. Yes, please.
Okay.
Judge Mattis would like to address that.
If I could just take a moment of personal privilege, I want to say hello to all my friends on the commission. There are days I I miss being a county commissioner here, and my colleagues and friends. So, hello, thank you for welcoming us back. And obviously, I'm here today to support our chief and the budget recommendation. And in my role in the family court, I will say that on a daily basis, I deal with families and kids and very, very difficult issues: termination of parental rights, divorces, juvenile delinquencies. I had a jury trial just recently involving a young lady in a high school who threatened to blow up a school and kill people. So those are the types of issues that I see in the family court. And your support in the past and hopefully with this budget, I see on a daily basis that it truly does have a positive impact on our ability to handle cases and the impact it has on the litigants, the people of the county, in terms of processing the cases in the most expeditious way possible, but ultimately to benefit the people of this county. So I just want to say, I'm sure I speak for all my colleagues, thank you for your support in the past. And we really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Taub and then Commissioner Woodward. Oh, Commissioner Woodward first.
I want to talk about magazine. I'm just kidding.
Don't steal our thunder.
I've never even seen a book.
So a similar question I had from the district court. I got an alternative dispute resolution and everything. We actually do believe that there is utility. And obviously, the more complex the case, it's not appropriate and probably not efficient as it relates to cases with children and everything. It's not appropriate, but so where it is appropriate, when I talk to my peers that are getting divorced, that they're just getting divorced, and life moves on and everything, that there are potentially easier ways and cost-saving ways to resolve those issues and then move it through the court of appropriate legal challenges. And so where do we hold like the data on the referral cases for dispute resolution, whether it's with Oakland County mediation or something else? Do we keep a log of all of that, or
I'm going to defer to the court administrators in a minute on that. Obviously, as Judge Fabrizio said, there's some different avenues. Oakland County mediation will keep track of the cases under that case file under 25,000 that we send to Oakland County mediation. But so many cases are referred to facilitation, private facilitation, and that kind of information we do not keep track of. No one keeps track of that kind of information. Our case evaluation we keep track of from our case management office, but so much is resolved through private facilitation, and those are numbers that no one keeps track of, really.
No. Is there a way to track that?
Boy, I guess we'd have to, the only way I can think to do it, it would have to be us, and I suppose we'd have to report every time we send a case to facilitation and then what the result is. Please don't ask us to do that.
I guess I look at it from the administration of justice, and obviously where there's conflict and that legal costs can quickly go up, particularly for certain code. I think it can grow pretty fast. Looking for ways to streamline cases, and so I've been recently hearing about the complexity, but also the number of cases of family division and what have you moving forward. Expediting justice and using it whatever opportunity these alternative dispute resolution processes seems to make a lot of sense intuitively. And obviously, it's the job of the judge to say that this is an appropriate case to be able to do that. In conversations where I've had with folks, and I think there are some that use it a lot, and then some that use it a lot less. And I guess I'm trying to figure out, well, what's the reason there? Is it a broad philosophy issue? And is there a way to increase utilization of this tool where it makes sense, or at least put it out there as an option to anybody? Like, if that's what you want to do, we can do it this way, and getting the information in front of people early in the process. But I've actually talked to people like, wait, are you telling me that I didn't have to spend $5,000? That we could have resolved this at a $200 level, or $300 level? How do we get that information in front of people earlier to figure out how to do that?
So
it's a system issue.
the Supreme Court is looking heavily at this issue right now. I attended an ADR summit along with Kevin in May, I think that was. So they are doing a very detailed study right now of the ADR process, whether we want to keep case evaluation, whether we want to order facilitation, and if so, at what time during the case, early, middle, and when's the best time to order facilitation. Do we still want to utilize Oakland County mediation for us, for instance? So I don't know how long they're going to take to come out with that study, but I think there's going to be some serious changes in that area, and we're probably, I think, going to lean toward ordering facilitation early to try to avoid some of the litigation costs that, if you continue on longer. But the Supreme Court's looking at that, and there are definitely going to be some changes coming in that area.
Once you start, the clerk has, divorces are filed with the clerk, aren't they? So wouldn't you have a list of how many divorces there were in Oakland County? And then you could take that number and subtract the number that went through the court, and you assume they must have had a facilitator to take care of it, or wouldn't that work that way?
So if I can address, so in the example that you mentioned, Commissioner Woodward, Commissioner Melton, the divorce case. So the way I handle that is any new divorce case is scheduled for a conference, an initial, what I would call a sort of a scheduling conference, if you will, and a date is set. The litigants come in. Some have lawyers, some don't. And there are a large number of cases, even in Oakland County, where people are representing themselves and they don't have lawyers, either on one side or both. But one of the issues that's always discussed initial conference is ADR. Is there going to be mediation or not? Because we do order mediation in divorce cases. One of the issues that sometimes comes up, though, is domestic violence. Because as a judge, we are not supposed to order parties to mediation if there's domestic violence, especially if someone is self-represented. Obviously, you have potential duress, undue influence, issues. So what I do, and I believe most of my colleagues do the same thing, or if not all of them, is I will ask the lawyers at that initial conference if the parties want to meet. If domestic violence is raised, I won't order it unless the parties want to. If essentially the victim of domestic violence says, yes, I still want to mediate, then I go on, have a short hearing, basically, and I'll ask some questions of the victim. Is he or she going to be represented by an attorney after mediation? Are there appropriate safeguards that have been put in place? Are they going to arrive with their lawyer? Is the lawyer going to be there the entire time? Are they going to be separated in a room separate from the other party, represented by counsel the entire time? Okay. If there's a settlement, are they coming back together, or are they putting it in writing? Basically go through the entire details, ask the person if they have any questions, and at the end of the process, if they still want to mediate, generally we would then, under certain circumstances, you could then do it. But it's a unique feature that generally doesn't come up in a civil case where somebody is suing somebody out of a car accident, and you're going to order it to mediation or ADR, but you do in our case. So it adds more time. It's something, obviously, we have to, as judges, address in each case that there's domestic violence. But I guess to your point, yes, ADR is ordered in divorce cases, with or without kids.
Okay. Okay, yeah, Commissioner Woodward.
And just like, on a broad sense, comparing Oakland County to other counties, like, is our use of ADR proportional? Is it less? Do we have even a gauge to be able to?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I mean, if I were to venture a guess, I would think we use it just as much or more than others, but that's a guess.
Well, I mean, in some cases, it's also an apple to orange comparison. The complexity of some of the cases are significantly here, particularly about civil matters and business matters and other types of things like that. So it might be hard to do. But it's something I'm definitely interested in trying to see, like, how can we help facilitate? In some cases, is it, I mean, I think one particular, completely anecdotal, is 2 seconds of your story. Is that it didn't, I mean, they wish they would have known that this was a more viable option, or they maybe didn't understand it. It doesn't matter. Like, if there's a way that information can be put in front of people to also be requesting it while it's going through its appropriate judicial point of view. And so trying to figure out how to be able to do that in a way that, again, for me, it's expediting justice at the lowest cost possible, so, and clearing off the document. That is efficiency for you. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Suzanne Hollier might have something to say on it too.
Also, I just wanted to mention that on post-judgment matters, we refer a lot of cases with parenting kind of issues
funded through the same source of funding that my grant that I brought to you today, on the finance committee, was funded, access and education. So when people are kind of done with front of the court and want a neutral person to resolve their parenting time dispute, we send those to open mediation. Well, we get 27,000 of those parenting time complaints a year that are resolved by our 19 people most of the time, but several hundred by open mediation as well. So we use a lot of it in post-judgment.
Thank you.
Okay, Judge Mattis.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think Suzanne raised a really good point, and I just wanted to mention something about that. So the ADR context, you understand that with a divorce filing, what we're seeing in the family court is really two different situations. One is, the brand new case that is filed, that's pending, and there's been no judgment entered yet, where you're ordering, ADR to try to settle the case. The second situation is what Suzanne mentioned, the post-judgment. So in other words, the judgment's already been entered, the people are divorced, but now an issue has arisen. So an example would be, let's say, a school change. Let's say one of the two parents who's now divorced meets someone who remarries and wants to move up to the Upper Peninsula and take the child, with him or her. That would then, if the parties don't agree on that, we have to have a hearing and hear all the testimony and the evidence and make a finding on the best interests of the child, whether or not to allow the move, and there's a lot of legal detail we have to address. But that hearing might not be scheduled for a few months down the road, so in the meantime, it is our standard policy to order the parties to go to mediation in the interim to see if they can resolve it, because that hearing may require, some hearings could be as long as a trial, could be multiple days, could be a long time. There's a lot of costs there for the litigants to have their lawyers represent them in the hearing, and there's uncertainty about the outcome for months while it's pending, whereas they might be able to get in a lot sooner to ADR. So that is a standard practice of ours in the post-judgment context to order ADR in most cases. So just to understand, maybe give you a little background on what Suzanne was talking about. Very good point, Sharon.
Any other questions? Tom?
I'm going to ask the same old question. I'm
ready.
Yeah, okay. Your library continuations and periodicals, books, and so on and so forth. Kevin, I guess it's a question to Kevin. Kevin, do you mostly order them yourself?
What we do is we hear from all the chambers as to the legal reference materials that they need, and then we aggregate that and send it over, I think, typically through the library. They do most of the ordering for us.
Would you be capable of doing your own ordering?
We could, yes.
Okay, just asking. Okay, and I have noticed that there has been a big change, hooray for our team, in book buying versus computers, so I guess the young guys are taking over, and that's a good thing, too. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any other questions for Circuit? If not, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having us.
We weren't too bad, were we?
Not at all.
Okay.
That was wonderful.
Okay, next we have prosecuting attorney, and we're right here. Okay, yeah.
Don't use them at all.
Hey,
Too heavy to carry. How are you?
You're Catherine, but you go by Kate.
I'm Kathleen.
Okay. My wife's Catherine. And
same derivative. It means pure. Did you know that?
No.
Our name means pure.
Oh.
He's going more the
I
public
always wanted to go by Kate. And see, because everybody knows that Kate Middleton is married to a princess.
You know why my dad called me Kate? It was after Kiss Me Kate. He had this shrew. He said I was a pain in the ass. No, seriously. When I was 2 years old, he goes, she's Kate. It was after the,
Kiss Me Kate.
Yeah. That's why my name is, does it surprise you?
Yeah. Okay, we're ready to go ahead?
Okay, so I have one thing that I want to speak with you about, but I'll give you the good positive report first, is that
okay.
We're a very non-controversial office.
You've got the mic, yeah.
Oops,
It's on.
it says it's on. I just have to move it closer.
Yeah.
As you know, for the past 10 years.
Good.
We're low-key. We're professional. We have a wonderful conviction rate. We absolutely work very hard. We train our prosecutors, and you don't hear from us much, which is really, I think, what I promised I would do when I came in, and we don't. We're occasionally we hit some controversial cases, and one of the cases, not one of the cases you're going to hear about are the juvenile lifer cases, and they are now going to be coming to fruition now that the Michigan Supreme Court has made their ruling. And so we're seeing, of our 41 cases that are remaining, we are seeing, we've got about 8 or 12 pretrials set, and all the way into next year, I would assume that you're going to be seeing that. You're going to see some, a lot of coverage. Some of these cases are brutal. Some of the murders were brutal, and so just, you know, take a deep breath, and we'll work the way that we do, quietly, diligently, and effectively, I hope. So that being said, the thing that I wanted to talk to you about is something that was raised, I suspect, earlier today, and that's the MDIC. Now, what is MDIC? Michigan Defense Commission, and they have decided that the arraignment in district court is a critical stage of the proceedings. If it is a critical, wherein defense counsel must be present. And I'm here to tell you that if it's a critical stage of the proceedings, and that's debatable but now resolved according to them, then the prosecutor has to be present. And the prosecutor has to be present because there's bond conditions, there's discovery to be talked about. Many times at arraignment, people will plead at arraignment, and we're mostly concerned about the domestic violence cases and being able to be present to present the opposing side. And we have a lot of domestic violence cases, and to give you a stat in terms of how important they are in our office, in Oakland County, we don't have a lot of murders, but half of them are related to domestic violence. So even in the district courts, we take that extremely seriously. You try and divert it, you try and get people help, you try and get people counseling at that level so that they don't come up to the circuit level with something that we can't do anything about. Once the murder is there, then we're talking about the conviction. So we need to be present, and when we did these calculations, understand that Oakland County is different from the rest of the state. We have in our district courts more physical facilities that have to be covered all over this county than even Wayne County, all right? We have a lot of physical places to be. And so when we were talking about it, and we're talking about what it could be and what the outside, and I wanted to talk to you about money because you should understand this. The outside is the appointment of physically 14 more prosecutors. That's a lot of money. So I promised to be fiscally responsible. I have a solution, but that solution has to be taken up with all of us together. I don't know how we're going to do it. One of the things that we notice is that, you know, we have district courts that are related to the county courts, and we also have district courts that are funded by their own municipalities. And you're saying, well, you know, Cooper, you've got this idea going on, and how can we have no control over about the municipal courts, but we do. We have a lever. So let me explain what happens on the weekends and what happens on every holiday. All of the district courts, some of those district courts that are funded by different municipalities, come up to Oakland County on the weekends for weekend arraignments. On the major holidays, they all use Oakland County's arraignments, and this is what we're talking about. If we had a situation where that was done on every day of the week, and we could even be generous in terms of the fact that we're physically large and have another situs down at the other end of the county, at the southern part of the county. We would need 2 prosecutors, all right, as opposed to 14, where it would be impossible to run between all of these courts. They all want their own prosecutors. They all want whatever they want. Now, they use our facility all the time. There's nothing unusual about it. There's nothing strange. We haven't had any problems with it. But if there's a weekend arraignment, because there has to be an arraignment within certain periods of time, depending on what it is, they will come up and use ours. So why is it? It's our solution, but I have no power to enforce it. I just want you to know that we have that facility. And I want you to know that other municipalities use that facility on a regular basis. Surely we can come up with a way in which we can have 2 facilities for arraignment purposes and not have to go through this huge, outrageous expense. Now, we've talked about that expense. I've tried to discuss this with SCAO. We've discussed it with the Chief Justice. We've gone over and over. But I think that Oakland County is different. And once again, every time we talk about grants when we have for victims' rights, we talk about everything. They go, oh, it's Oakland. Well, you know, you guys can afford. And we're going, no, we can't. And here's and one of the things that we really want, and it would be so unruly. It would be so difficult. It would be the 14 different locations, all right, and different judges in those different locations, right? And you can't physically do that. And the arraignments would be so much easier if they did that. All right. So that's the solution. I give this to you on budget hearings to find out how it is that we convince all of the district courts to go along with that. And I suspect that the leverage is you use it on the weekends and on holidays. What's the problem with using it for purposes of arraignment? How you do that, I don't know. But I think that you're talking about hiring an awful lot of prosecutors because if you're going to have defense attorneys there, we have to be there. If the courts look at this as a critical stage of the proceedings, we're required by law to be there, and we can't physically be in all of those places. I mean, we have a hard enough time in some of the district courts getting them to give us certain days dedicated to the criminal call so that we can coordinate it so that we don't have to hire a prosecutor for each and every one of those judges. And it becomes, sometimes they don't even cooperate with that, and they decide, okay, we're going to put this over, we're going to put that over, and coordinating our district prosecutors to cover what needs to be covered is extremely difficult, and we're required by law to cover it. So I give you the problem. I give you what I consider to be a solution. I don't know who has the power or the hammer or the whatever it is to solve it, but it just doesn't make any sense to have 14 different locations when we can have 2. And they're going to say, but we're municipalities and you're Oakland County, and all we have to do is say, but you're using Oakland County facilities. You've been using them for years and years. That's what we do. That's what cooperation is. And finding cooperation in this day and age, wouldn't it be nice if we were the leaders? So that's my deal.
Okay, Commissioner Tom.
To that, I think it's a fine idea. But to that complaint that you're out, find one, you could even rotate them, weekly or whatever you want to do. No,
we can't physically. It's a daily docket. So what they've done is they've made different daily dockets for criminal hearings, right?
Yeah.
And we're spread out. We have what, 17? No, how many district prosecutors? 18, and we have 30 some odd district judges. We've done that, all right?
Okay.
You can't just rotate them around. We have done that.
No, I meant the.
We are so, I mean, we are not even remotely frivolous. And I'll tell you what happens. When someone goes on a maternity leave, a family leave, a medical leave, I mean, we're scrambling. And we're doing what we need to do. And we've never really, we've always stayed within our budget. We've always done that. But now we're talking about something that's almost physically impossible for us to do.
What I was addressing is you said have our location up here, another location in the south end. That south end location could conceivably rotate. That's my point.
Sure.
Yeah. The
Sure.
other question, how many prosecutors do you have now?
95, including me.
Okay.
And absolutely everybody goes into court. We have,
Okay.
you see them, and particularly now with our juvenile lifers, you're seeing our chiefs, our leaders, constantly in the courtroom. You want to know about the administration of our office, you are looking at it. Because, and Paul's going into court. Paul's got a huge murder, and he's got 7 of the juvenile lifers. So I'm telling you, we're doing everything that we can to be circumspect in terms of our use. Everybody is in the courtroom. We're not top heavy in administration. We're not any of those things. But you know, in the juvenile lifer cases, I want the best of the best in there, because these are individuals who committed premeditated murder. We need to be able to make certain that I send in the guns, and that's in essence, that's a bad pun, isn't it? Now when we're talking about murder, but that I send in the heavy duty prosecutors so that they're there with our newer prosecutors. We try and train them as best we can. And we do. I think that's our reputation. And so we're doing a fine job for you, but now we're at a point with this new program that it's physically impossible for us to be in all of those places. And the solution is so simple, and it's so much money that the county could save. So I don't know. I'm looking at the person who's looking at me and going, how are we going to figure out how to do this, Mr. Dado? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. Logic, sense. Why not? They're doing it anyway. They're doing it all the time. There's nothing unusual. But we are the only county that has so many different locations.
And we've been turned down by the state, 3 times on this proposal?
Me too.
And are they the ones that could force the district courts that aren't associated?
Scale, the Supreme Court Administrative Office. And we're just, you know, there's this concept in the state, you know, when we were talking about monies for victims' rights and victims' advocates. Monies come in from the state, and they look at us and they go, well, what do you need it for? And it's very frustrating.
I was a state legislator, and I know what that feeling is, that Oakland County's rich. I mean, they always kept telling us that. So, Shelley's got a question.
I'm going to ask the same question. Paul's been sitting here for so long, he's heard it 10 times. But my question is this. First of all, I want to make a statement. I'd like for your staff to have whatever they need
36.
to be the best possible prosecutors in the whole country. That being said,
I think we are. Excuse me for bragging.
Okay, but I want you to have the tools as well, you know. So, as I look at library continuations, you're doing a nice job, and you're doing a nice job with periodicals and magazines. Do you order those yourself? And are most of your prosecutors online now?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
There are certain books that we absolutely have to have going
Sure.
forward. The problem that we have is that, as the prosecutors indicated, we have got 14 different district courthouses to cover. They do not have Wi-Fi access. Taking a computer there does absolutely no good for us. We don't have the ability to access our databases. We don't have the ability to access our research tools, so everything's got to be printed out. The same with circuit court. And then there are individual judges who do not allow you to bring in a computer into the courtroom. So there are some hurdles that have to be overcome with that. We will never be a totally paper-free office. We can't be, because we have to provide discovery to defense, we have to provide documentation to the court, and we have to make sure that we are complying with our FOIA laws as well.
Right.
So that's always going to be, you are always going to see a cost associated with that. To your question about periodicals, we have been encouraging prosecutors for years to go online more, but the reality is that they are going to be walking into court and they are going to have to provide some documentation as to the research that they have conducted either to the bench or to the defense or to both.
So, you know, I never thought of that, but none of our district courts have the ability, you can't, I mean.
No Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi, no ability to print out the material that they discover. So
Is that all?
Yes.
All 14?
Yes.
Have no Wi-Fi accessibility?
Well, no, they have Wi-Fi access, but sometimes they limit Wi-Fi access for practical reasons. Like, you don't want jurors to go back with their smartphone and start doing their own research. So there's practical realities to that as well.
Phil, I'm sorry.
We would love to help you with that. We have mobile technologies that we can hook to laptops, and we have mobile printers that we have health inspectors going all over the county now where there's no Wi-Fi. But if there's something we can do to help, we'd love to work with you.
Again, the district courts that are not under Oakland County that are funded by municipalities, there's not much that,
But
again,
there's
we can do.
mobile. But Phil has a way to do it without, you don't need anything.
And I understand
Yeah.
that, but here's what happens. I have a case, Judge, that says X, Y, or Z. The judge says, really? I want to see it. How do I print it off? Give it to him if it's only on my laptop.
Yeah, but we have mobile, Phil?
We have mobile printing of it. Well, that's a project we can work with.
Okay.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Be good, be easier.
It's good.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions for the prosecutor?
Nope.
If not, I don't, Woodward has one, but your solution, we have to work with the independent district courts.
Well, maybe they'd like to, because it isn't that much of a stretch. They use it. It's not that we're suggesting that they use it. It's not that we're suggesting something different. It's not that we're suggesting something that they don't already use and make and avail themselves of. And if they've availed themselves of our facilities, why not continue to avail themselves and we can say thank you very much and be great.
One of the problems that we're encountering with Scale is they are a state agency, and they are mandating for the entire state. Let me just give you a very recent and practical example. Search warrants have to be filed with the district court. It is mandated by state law. Scale does not have a system that allows for the filing of search warrants. We have pointed this out to Scale. You know how search warrants are filed now in district court? They're sworn to and thrown in a box under a judge's desk. And there is no ability for us to research them or to pull them up. The problem with that is oftentimes search warrants are associated with an ongoing investigation that could jeopardize a victim or an officer's life. So we oftentimes file for a suppression of the search warrant beyond the statutory 56 days. If they have no filing system, they have no idea what is suppressed or what's not. We recently had a judge issue an ex parte order ordering the sheriff's department to turn over a search warrant where the 56 days had not yet expired. So we have pointed out the obvious to Scale, and their response has been, we'll look at it.
And Scale's going to look at my solution too. They're looking at it. They've been looking.
So they've been offered your solution.
Looking hard.
At this end, I think what the prosecutor's saying is it might mean more pressure from you as the financing body and us as the administrator.
Yeah.
But it has to be resolved soon, because I think the lawsuit, the Court of Appeals just, I don't know what you're gonna do with that, but, we're not, doing so well in the. Oh, maybe we should tell them what they should do.
Okay, Shelley, did you have a question? Woodward?
I'll pass.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. There was one more thing. If you're gonna have another judge,
Oh, yeah.
you need another prosecutor, and that's just the judges. That's the circuit judge who's gonna say,
Now you've stirred up Woodward's.
no. Well, I'm sorry, we do have to be funded for that. I'm sorry.
That's exactly what I was going to actually bring up. So that was, my question is that that's not in this budget.
It is.
It is. So the additional prosecutor is.
Is the prosecutor in there?
Yeah.
Yay, okay, now can we go?
Yep, now you can go.
All right.
Thank you very much. If there's nothing else to come before the budget hearings, I will declare the meeting, finance meeting adjourned unless there's opposition. It's